Sound art is a product that is a speaker and it's art. We combine it together and we call it sound art. What makes it so unique that any picture can be your speaker? Sound art gives you the high quality sound without the ugly speaker. This isn't a picture with a speaker, the picture is the speaker. Just imagine your wedding picture uploaded onto a canvas and now it's speaking 10,000 tunes. I mean, it's a very cool concept. What we like so much about it that you can take anything that means something very special to you, upload it on the canvas, have it hanging up in your room, your balcony, wherever you want to put it, and now it's a speaker. I mean, how cool is that? It's something that we have that and no one has. No one has this product. It's just a great gift to give anybody. It's just a neat concept. Around here we say, art never sounded so good.
Talladega. It's the house that France built. It's the ultimate test of speed and audacity, built to be bigger than any other, badder than any other. The Super Speedway of NASCAR. It's Earnhardt country. From Dale to Junior, Junior to Jeffrey, the Earnhardts bested Petty's, Elliott's, the Bushes, Allison's, Gordon, Stewart, Johnson, Yarborough, and more. It's said to be cursed, having been built upon an ancient creek burial ground, striking back, sparking the big one that could be what makes or breaks a driver's year. It is Talladega. And welcome, race fans, to PitStop TV, and apparently I can't read off of a screen this evening. I feel like I may as well just turn it over to you, but we are live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. I feel like I completely botched all of that. Hopefully, Noah, as you are in the booth with me, you'll be a little better at things. We got Trey Shuttlesworth might have to step in. He's on social media. I'm Andrew Cardinale IV, and this is PitStop TV's live coverage of the Bluegrass iRacing Series. We join you tonight from the virtual Lincoln, Alabama for race number 9 of 12 on the season. We come in after a double points round actually last week at Bristol Motor Speedway. And, I hadn't realized, actually, that it was double points until earlier this afternoon, and I was talking with Jason Collins, Nick Mills, and such about the point standings, and that explains, actually, a lot of the point standings that we'll be looking at here in a moment, Noah, because we went into Bristol with 4 contenders for the championship. We leave with just 3, losing Brandon Robertson. And this week, this evening, we just might lose another, maybe even 2. It could just be down to 1, or they all have troubles and bring Brandon Robertson right back in. Of course, it is Talladega Superspeedway.
Absolutely. We talked to a lot of the drivers in the coming weeks to this, and every single one of them has this track listed as a potential drop week. It's just the nature of this track. You can be the fastest car on track, but it don't mean nothing just because of how close quarter this pack racing has become. It's just the nature of it, and it's what you have to deal with. And it's in the back of everyone's minds of how you want to play the strategy to survive all the laps you have to make around this track just to make it to the finish. Luckily, because of the no stage racing, we've seen a lot of drivers in the past with leagues that we've covered here. They've been able to calm down and they wait until the last 20 laps, and then that's when all hell breaks loose. But hopefully they can keep that same stuff up here tonight. We'd have a really, really good race on our hands. But a lot of drivers coming in here with the idea of a drop week to maybe boost themselves in the championship. Also just to have this one on the back foot, just so that way they can say, okay, I did good in every other race, so I can use this one and focus on the rest. Drivers like John Kinder and Travis Miller, 2 drivers who are safely with a good spot in the championship, but Justin Winter is still one of those drivers kind of looking to turn it around, who is still recovering from Pocono. He's still in a good spot of the points fight with Travis Miller, but with John Kinder looming on his rear on the second spot in the points, he really needs to perform well tonight. But thankfully, because of the drop weeks, if he does wreck out tonight, that means we know what his 2 drop weeks are going to be, which would be Talladega and Pocono, probably more than likely.
And speaking of drop weeks, let's just go ahead and take a look at our point standings coming in this evening. That's the wrong one. There we go. Travis Miller comes in with just a 1-point gap after Bristol Motor Speedway last week. Justin Winters enters behind that 1-point gap. And don't look too far, because John Kinder is right in those 2 mirrors. And he's now only 8 points back after entering Bristol. I think it was 12 behind Travis Miller. So he reels in on that gap by a few points, narrows things up. It's now just an 8-point difference, and the double point round at Charlotte Motor Speedway's Roval next week is certainly going to be one that he wants to capitalize on, as well as just this evening in case those 2 have troubles up ahead. Brandon Robertson, I mentioned him being written out of this one. For the most part, he kind of is. Now 51 points behind, even with the drop weeks enabled, and that is going to certainly hurt his season. And really, it just comes down to the fact that he missed a couple of races, Noah. You said it in your article that you put out on whiplash-media.com. Simply because he missed those first couple of races earlier in the season. He doesn't have any more drops to lean back on, and I mean, where he finishes rather is what's going to stick. He can't drop a bad finish like at Bristol last week where he finished 16th position. Daniel Worthington does take advantage though of some other drivers' misfortune. He finishes or he moves up into the top 5 in points, bringing Wes Wiggin and Wyatt Brackett with him. Look at Adam Lancaster and Nathan Maurer both moving up 5 spots and both into now the top 10.
Yeah, you talk about Brandon Robertson. He knew coming into Bristol just how much pressure would be on him because of the 2 drop weeks. He knew coming in when he started the series, when he signed up, that he was going to take those 2 drop weeks off to go take a vacation and go out of town. And going into Bristol, he knew he had to be as fast as he could. He was for the most part. For over half the race, he ran up at the front and was a good contender for the win and was an arguable chance to beat John Kinder just based on pit strategy. But with one small mistake, he derailed not only that race, but his championship hopes. So what he is hoping to do, if he wants to win his championship, ride in the back, avoid the wrecks, and hope that those 3 people in front of him get taken out in that wreck. Because if that happens, then he's honestly probably back in this fight. Not by much, but enough to hopefully put him within a chance of having it happen with tracks like the Roval and Martinsville coming up. Because as we talked about, he was fast at Bristol, he won at Richmond, so we know that he has the potential to win that short tracks, and Martinsville could be one of those tracks where he could really put himself up into a championship, especially if he does survive Talladega and the other 3 wreck, and he takes that win. That would really boost him in this title fight.
Now, you and I have both mentioned tracks coming up in the season. Well, there you have it. There's the full season schedule. We're currently on round 9 at Talladega Superspeedway, meaning we have 3 after this evening. Charlotte Motor Speedway's Roval, Martinsville Speedway, and the full-length race at Kentucky there in mid-October. So these next 4 races are critical, just like everything before it. But these next 4 races are especially critical, beginning with this evening. You cannot have a mistake. You have to take advantage of every chance you can to pass cars and just have good finishes from here on out if you want to have a shot at the championship. And really it has just come down for the most part to the 22 and the 88 all season, but that 21 of John Kinder, the Rims 1 machine, trying to spoil that. Here is Travis Miller, one of our front runners all season long, and he's putting down a qualifying attempt. He's already got 1 lap in, and as his paint actually updates, there we go, he is looking to set his second of 2 qualifying laps. Currently, David Brackett actually sits on the pole.
Yeah, Travis Miller, we talked about, he's been on the points lead since the beginning of the season, has been running up there just the winners all season. Something else to keep in mind, he won the first race, which was at Daytona, by running in the back, running in the midfield, kind of, and avoiding the wrecks, and that ended up on the last lap. If you watch that race, last lap, the 2 leaders wreck, he takes the lead, he takes the checker flag, and ever since then he hasn't looked back and has been one of the points leader for mostly half the season. So keep an eye on him because he obviously knows how to run these plate races in that BRP iRacing Ford. So he knows exactly what he's doing, and honestly just expect to watch out for him because he could get his 3rd win here tonight.
Yeah, this could be the night that the number 22 pounces and strikes back at everybody trying to catch up to him and just tries to give himself a lead going into these next few races, especially the next 2 after this. The Roval and Martinsville are going to be very important for drivers to just not make mistakes. It's going to be hard to capitalize on those 2 races, and as a result, you've really just got to not mess up, and I think that's just going to be the key these next few weeks. And tonight, it's all about missing the big one. I talked about it a little bit when I botched that opening. These guys could easily be just riding around, minding their own P's and Q's, and suddenly be in a massive, massive accident. We've seen it so many times before on iRacing in real life, on PitStop TV, and otherwise, where it just happens so quick, much like those big incidents at Bristol 1 week ago.
Yeah, just one of those things you have to watch out for. It doesn't matter where you are. As anybody who's on iRacing knows right now, the official series of NASCAR are at Talladega. So I've been trying to get my iRating up. I've done only 1 race, and that's going to be the only race I probably do this whole week. Because the first race I did, there was a driver who couldn't hold the lane. I bumped him, moved him out of the way, go in front of him, and he hooks me the next lap. And I was like, okay, I'm done. But it just tells you, anything can really happen. A driver can lose his temper and cause a wreck. A driver can make one fatal mistake like bumping in the corners and not cause a wreck. So it doesn't matter where you are. It could strike at any moment. It happened on lap 1. It could happen on lap 50. Or it could happen on lap 100. It doesn't matter where you are. As long as you are together in a giant pack, the fear of the big one can strike at any moment, and it can take out half the field at a Talladega Nights finish.
Speaking of striking at any moment, in the last half, or I guess the back half of this qualifying session, Nicholas Noggle goes purple and takes the preliminary pole position on the evening. Ronnie Shirk Jr. follows him. And is that? No, that's not quite a tie. I'm sorry. It looked like it was a tied lap time at first, but Ronnie Shirk Jr. 0.06 back from Nicholas Noggle. It's not a very large gap at all. Quite a tight one, actually. But both of those guys were just on the racetrack, so maybe the racetrack picking up speed. I wonder if there's some wind moving in the right direction to help these drivers go a little bit faster, because both of those guys just set those lap times after the rest of the field, for the most part, had already qualified. Here's Jack Bauer on the racetrack, and oddly, he's got some right front damage.
Yeah, you want to talk about the front two, some drivers. Nicholas Noggle, one of those guys that we do talk about quite a lot. But Ronnie Shirk Jr., who I believe his first start at Darlington, now on the outside pole. But how about the guys back at 3rd and 4th? David Brackett and Chris LeBourgeois in the 83. That is amazing to see them up there. Drivers that I do notice that I want to point out is John Kinder. He's currently sitting in the pits. He completed his first lap, and I think that's the only lap he's going to do. He's going to start at the very tail end of the field. So perhaps maybe he's watching the broadcast and he heard what I said, and he's going to just ride in the back, survive the race, and then pounce in the last 50 or so laps and go take this win. Because right now he's just sitting up here and he's going to ride out the rest of qualifying.
Yeah, I mean, that's him there. His paint hasn't loaded, so it's just showing a white car right now. But the only car that we have on the racetrack, actually, is Jack Bauer, so we'll keep following with him. But Talladega is the great equalizer, as is Super Speedway racing, be it Daytona or Talladega. And so you're going to see those guys have a chance to get up there and mix it up when they might not always get that chance to, because realistically, the guys up in the front have just had a stranglehold on the entire field so far this season. Jack Bauer goes 18th quickest, only ahead of John Kinder, and it looks like Nathan Maurer, Wyatt Bracken may not qualify this evening, so that may be that as far as qualifying attempts. But absolutely, this is a chance for everybody to have a chance to win. I guess an opportunity, rather, for everybody to have a chance to win, when guys like John Kinder, Travis Miller, and Justin Winters would usually take that away just because they're faster. They are simply the big three in this series so far.
Yeah, Talladega truly is the great equalizer, and a lot of drivers know that coming into races like this. But it's also kind of a problem coming into this, because a lot of drivers realize, hey, I could get a win here. I could get a really good finish. So they start making a lot of more aggressive moves, and that's what ends up causing the big one half the time. Is just drivers who aren't used to running up in the front, who are leading the pack, and they make one small error, and that's what takes out half the field. We've seen it happen time and time again, of just drivers being impatient. Luckily, like I said at the beginning of the broadcast, stage racing is going to happen here. So hopefully they're able to calm down, and we can see a really good race for the first 75% of this race, and these drivers can put on one heck of a show. That's what I'm kind of hoping and expecting to see, just based off how Bluegrass has raced the past few weeks. These guys have put on amazing shows week after week, and they were fairly pretty good at Daytona, so I'm expecting nothing less of these guys as they head to Talladega.
Well, as we get ready for 94 laps this evening, let's walk down our starting grid, and it's going to lead off with Nicholas Noggle in the number 08, somebody who has had speed all season long, just hasn't been able to capitalize and finish out a race up front. Nicholas Noggle starts first on the pole position. Ronnie Shirk in, I believe, his third start now on the season, to his outside in position number 2. Qualifying third, it's David Brackett in the number 38. Flip that number around, you get fourth place. It's Chris LeBourgeois in the number 83. Starting off fifth this evening, Brandon Robertson. He had that big bad race at Bristol. He's looking to capitalize on an opportunity this evening for anybody to win, hopefully get his third win on the season. He's won at Richmond and Indianapolis thus far. Justin Winters only has one win coming at Atlanta this season, but he has still been one of those front runners. He comes in with just a 1-point deficit to Travis Miller. Scott Fritz rolls off 7th place. It's Matt Grenier in 8th position. Roll back to 9th. In run number 5, we have points leader Travis Miller. Joshua Abbey rolls off 10th.
Starting back in the 11th position at the 113 is Daniel Worthington, lining up in his outside. And in the 13th spot, in the 12th spot is going to be Tanner. So Wes, my bad. Let me restart. So starting 11th is going to be Daniel Worthington at the number 113. Starting 12th is going to be the 188 of Wes Wiegand. Starting back in 13th is where you're going to find the 17 of Tanner Webb. Lining up on the outside of him is the 13 of Brian Terry. Starting back in the 15th position is going to be the 51 of Brandon Young, who's running a Wonder Bread throwback, kind of like a shades of Ricky Bobby's paints going on there. Lining up on his outside is Adam Lancaster. Starting behind them is going to be the 555 of Ed Osborne. Lining up in his outside in the 18th position is where you're going to find Jack Bauer. Starting 19th is where you're going to find our winner of the last two races, John Kender. Lining up 19th, last driver set a lap. Starting in the 20th spot is where you're going to find Nathan Maurer. And then last on the grid is going to be that 33 of Wyatt Brackett.
So let's be getting ready to go for 94 laps this evening at Talladega Superspeedway. It's certainly been a wild season thus far. 8 races down, Noah. We've got 4 to go, beginning with this evening at Talladega. And it's always just one of the more exciting races that a league has when they run these NASCAR stock cars. Can't wait for these guys to get going at it for 94 laps, 250 miles at this place. It's kind of crazy to think that only 94 laps will take you that far, but these guys are about to do it over the course of a couple of hours. Nicholas Noggle, the pole sitter, Ronnie Shirk Jr. to his outside, David Brackett third. It's Chris LeBourgeois in fourth. That's your front 2 rows. Remember, these guys, of course, always at Talladega have to go that extra little bit. Usually we'd be lining them up and going green already at Daytona, but they have that extra little length down to the start-finish line at Talladega Superspeedway. We're waiting on a signal from the starter to get this one underway. As they come through the tri-oval at Talladega, the green flag flies, and we are racing at the 2.66 mile Superspeedway in Alabama. A big checkup on the bottom side. Noggle did not get going.
Nicholas Noggle has to be having major problems because he has just not gone, and he is still falling back, and that has really shaken up the front of the field. Robertson caught wind of it and immediately jumped to the inside, but got stacked up because of David Brackett, who jumped in front of him. He's fallen way outside the top 5, now behind Robertson. Scott Fritz on his back bumper, as the 05 of Abbey is going to line up right behind them, as they're still pretty far spread out, trying to find a way to get back together as they make their way into turn number 3.
Through turns 3 and 4 they go, trying to figure things out after that big checkup at the start of the race. And Justin Winters is your race leader out of turn number 4, heading down to the tri-oval for the first time at speed. Matt Grenier up in behind him. Ronnie Shirk Jr., the outside pole sitter, falls into 3rd place. David Brackett 4th, Chris LeBourgeois 5th.
That outside line is starting to get formed up. It's about 3, and the thing about it is they're a lot more formed up than the inside line, so they're going to be able to have a lot more speed on the straightaway as they make their way through turns 1 and 2. Winters still your race leader, with Grenier falling behind in 2nd, but a little bit wobbling on straightaway, struggling to keep a hold of that race car. Is going to give a bump down the back straightaway as the number 7 of Ronnie Shirk Jr., still with a pretty significant gap, which is really going to hinder their speed. And if that outside line can get hooked up, and they should be able to take this lead within the next few laps, just because of the fact this inside line cannot get hooked together.
Right on board with Brandon Robertson. He's tucked in behind the Yangling number 38. I know Joe Donahue would be liking that paint scheme as always. And they're getting a big run out of turn number 4, and they just might be side by side with the race leaders at the stripe. Here comes Brackett on the outside. I don't think he's going to lead that lap, but a big head of steam for those two on the top side.
And an update on John Kender, who started at the very back of the field. On the first lap, actually fell all the way back to last place. Now he's actually in a 3-car pack at the very end of the field with Lancaster, somebody we've seen him work with in the past at Pocono on the field strategy run to try and outlast them. And behind him is a 555 of Ed Osborne. So those guys kind of have the same strategy where they're just going to ride in the back. They're riding way in the back, far from the leaders, and they're just going to let them fight it out, wreck each other. He's going to try and hopefully take the win away and steal it once this big one happens. But back up at the front, you see that top line has finally formed up. Jack Bauer, a guy who we saw was really, really strong at Daytona up until he got in a wreck with one of the late lap cars during the green flag pit cycle. Now they are starting to get hooked together, as now Brackett's going to assume the race lead from Justin Winters, as that outside line really starting to form now.
And this broadcast this evening, this race at Talladega, presented by David Brackett and Team New England. They had to battle through some power outages this afternoon up in the Northeast, up in Maine in particular, but thankfully they are still racing with us. It was looking like they might not be able to, but thankfully the Bracketts and the rest of Team New England, I believe Brandon Robertson in that bunch, able to race this evening as, well, Robertson's actually just in front of pole sitter Nicholas Noggle, who seems to have recovered after whatever happened there at the start, but Justin Winter is going to retake the lead. Grenier all over now the outside of him, though. It went from the bottom side up to the outside, and that was somebody down on the apron. I think that was Le Bourgeois. Yeah, he's on the apron.
Le Bourgeois fell to the apron. The reason being is because of some internet connection issues. A lot of drivers are complaining about him blinking, so he just opted to be a nice guy and pull out of the way and let them go fight rather than cause a wreck, which is exactly the kind of stuff you need to do, because you don't want the guys blinking, because if that happens, then it makes the guy behind him a lot more scared to close that gap up, because you don't know where they're going to reappear. Because if they reappear in your car, then that's basically race over, and you're going to cause a huge pile-up just because of how iRacing system works with the internet connection. So he's going to pull away, let the leaders go fight it out, as they're 3 wide currently, because thanks to Ronnie Sherrick Jr. being in the middle. He kind of fell out of line at the inside line. Now he's going to try and form the top side. I believe he left with Nicholas Noggle, and it's backfired. Now the inside line has really formed up with a lot of drivers that abandoned them to go down and create what we usually see as single file train if they have a complete lap number 5.
5 circuits complete, side by side for the race lead go Winters and Grenier now. Winner's going to have help from the 51 car of Young. Brandon Young back in the race, and I just don't even know where this guy came from. The Wonder Bread machine on the outside, giving a big shot in the shorts to Justin Winters, pushing him out into the race lead once more, and Young gets a taste of second place. As third place, Brian Terry, for a moment had his nose ahead, I think, of Matt Grenier, but falls back now behind Scott Fritz, and 3 wide up front as Young, well, now he'll tuck back in behind Winters, but he was looking to the outside of the 88 car.
Yeah, really interesting. You see that 51 Wonder Bread car, not just because of the fact that it's a guy that we don't usually see much, but just kind of it's like a little bit of a there's a lot of different throwbacks you could think of that as, because it's the 51 Wonder Bread machine, both of which Kurt Busch has ran. He ran the 51 when he was with Phoenix Racing. He ran the Me car when he raced with them. A year later, when he went to Furniture Row Racing, they ran the Wonder Bread car. So it's a little bit of Kurt Busch within that throwback as well. But obviously with Talladega, you know it's a Ricky Bobby throwback, which is something we always expect when we come here to see somebody throw out some sort of Talladega Nights car, whether it's a Cal Naughton Jr., John Girai, which is a very rare one to see, more than likely Ricky Bobby. But back behind him, and I want to give props to this, is trying to find it, is Brian Terry in that 13 car. Like we usually see, we don't really see much of him up the front, but he's one of the guys that is very outspoken to the admin when trying to help with this league. He's one of the main guys that can help make decisions, and we're seeing a lot out of him here early in this race. He's not afraid to make some moves, and he's really one of those drivers we talked about, a part of the great equalizer to try to win it. And he's going to try and win it in that beautiful Tequila Patron livery, which I'm loving to see right now.
And Brian Terry and Terry Family Racing sponsored last week at Bristol Motor Speedway, so good to see him doing pretty well this evening so far. Through 7, almost 8 laps here at Talladega, and the lead is obviously well contested to this point. We're riding on board there with Brian Terry, but this isn't going to change for the most part all evening long. I throw it back to Daytona, where these guys were side by side, of course, in the first race of the season. It's going to stay this way all evening long until they have a shot at pit stops that should break this stuff up.
Well, even then, we remember, if you look at Daytona, there was a lot of incidents that happened on the racetrack that didn't cause cautions due to the end game, or just the admins opting not to throw it because it was off the racetrack. But we saw them go green mostly the entire race up until about the last 10 or so. As you see, Justin Winters now going to abandon Scott Fritz and make it 3 wide, force him into the island of his own down in the middle, as now Brandon Young and Winters are going to try and make a move. I'm not really sure the move behind this and why they want to do that, because if you look now, Tanner Webb and Matt Grenier have really started to open up a lead as Noggle closing behind him. And now, because of the fact that they ditched Fritz is going to be like, all right, you want to play that way? I'll fall line to the bottom. Now they lost a driver, and it's going to really, really hinder their speed, as they're just getting freight train right now on the top side.
And there is the Allen's Body Shop number 88 getting a big run back on the outside. He's got help still from Brandon Young in the 51 car. And this is Scott Fritz that's tucked in behind Nicholas Noggle, who's in behind the 17 of Tanner Webb. How about Tanner Webb moving himself back up into the front runners and vying for this race lead early? He's really just riding with the 15 of Grenier. But, I mean, he's absolutely in a position to take the lead at some point and really see what he can do here at Dega. Winners all the way down onto the apron, trying to take that race lead and get down to the bottom side.
They're now 3 wide for second as Young gets split in the middle as Brian Terry on his outside. Ronnie Shark Jr. in 7, not really sure where to go. Is now Winner's going to block the top now and go back up there with the forward car breakaway that they have going. Grenier going to resume the race lead. You talked about Tanner Webb, and he's one of those drivers I talked about in the Bristol Ones to Watch, I believe. He's one of the more newcomers in the series, but he's made himself known as one of the more aggressive drivers in the series. If he can see a chance at running up in the front and getting up in the lead and getting that TV time, he will take it regardless of who's in his way. He doesn't care if it's a championship contender or just a race leader. He wants that race lead. He's not afraid to take it. He's doing it right now. Second on the inside line, currently running about the 3rd spot is Brian Terry up on the outside. But he's really set himself good, because even if you're at the front, you have a better chance of winning at the front than you do in the middle of the pack. But the only concern he has right now is if something happens, because right now Young and Terry are really starting to get a little frisky with each other up on the top side, which could really spell trouble for him on the bottom.
And on some of these shots, you're seeing that we have a second group that has formed a little further back in the field. And this is kicked off with Joshua Abbey in the number 05. He's got Wes Wigginton behind him. Then it's Daniel Worthington. These guys just kind of riding around. Chris LeBourgeois, Travis Miller back here. John Kinder as well. Looks like this is also where we find Adam Lancaster and Ed Osborne. So from 14th through 21st, I guess that's eight cars just riding around. And there is a special message, if we can get a look at it, on the back end of the 05 car. I don't know his name, but Joshua Abbey's wife's great uncle did pass away, and we wish condolences out to that family and thoughts and prayers. It's always a tough time going through losing a family member, but Joshua out here and the rest of his team racing with heavy hearts and an extra little oomph, as he put it on Twitter, something else to drive for this evening on top of just wanting to win.
Yeah, obviously when you have a loss like that, the number one thing it gives you is motivation, because you come into a track like this where you know you have a shot to win, and it kind of gives you a little bit of a kick to want to go out there and win this race for them. So that's something you want to keep an eye on in this race. If he can find his teammates, he can get hooked up, he can make moves and go for this race lead and hopefully take a victory to be able to be dedicated to them. But obviously our thoughts go out with him and his family as they go through this rough time. But back up at the front, Grenier and Winners still side by side, as Winners and Young and Terry, those guys have been inseparable so far, regardless of whether Winners goes down to the bottom or the top. He always ends up with them somehow. Grenier is still leading that bottom side. And we talked about Scott Fritz a little bit. You gotta remember, him and Jack Bauer were two guys who hooked up together early in the runs at Daytona, and those guys were inseparable, and they ran away with the race lead looking to win it up until they got involved in a wreck. So be aware of those two, because those two find speed and they find someone to go with, they're gonna jump up and they could take this race lead and run away with it once again, because those two work together and they are fast.
Scott Fritz moving into 6th, Jack Bauer currently in 7th, and anything can happen certainly with those guys. And let's see, did I misspeak? Yeah, so 6th for Fritz. Bauer's actually in 8th, my bad. There's Terry in between them. But either way, this front pack, it's rather tight-knit up front for 1st through 6th, maybe 7th. But after that, they're just kind of hanging around the back end of the top 10, and there's only the 21 cars here this evening, so only the couple of groups. But I wonder, as this race goes on and we have to contend with some pit stops possibly, and we're looking at maybe 30 to 37 laps, somewhere in there for each pit stop. It's easily just a 2-stop race, but I wonder how much these groups might split up a little bit. We might just see some single-car racing, I guess really 2-car tandems, rather. I don't know where I'm trying to go with tandos, but you get the point that we might even see this field really, really thin out.
Yeah, the moment these pit strategies happen, just like at Daytona, we keep talking about over and over and over again. Once they pit, it gets really spread out, as you're seeing a lot of drivers keying up. And contact between Grenier and Terry, as a lot of them are keying up to say that they were pitting this time by. And now you got to watch out, because this is such a hectic pit road. It's so easy to get onto, but it's the speed you come in here with and how much cars are in there. It just causes chaos. You see everybody diving in, and really close for Grenier, and if he made it on speed or not, he's going to have to hope that he doesn't get caught speeding there. But he's going to be the first leaders to come down, as winners and Young are going to take over the first and second spot, as now we are officially within our first cycle of pit stops.
You know what? I'd forgotten that we had the fuel limit when I said 30 to 37 laps. So these guys coming in right at that halfway point in that 30 or so laps, and they're just going to come in for fuel. The tires, well, actually, Nicholas Noggle taking tires. I'm surprised by that. I would think, especially the half fuel tank limit, that you would not want to take tires on these first couple of stops. But they are. Justin Winters stays out that time by, though. Looks like he will probably come in this time by with Brandon Young and some others. And this is where the field will probably split up a little bit. Here comes all the front runners, all the way down through Maurer and Justin Winters. An aggressive pit entry. Was he down to speed by the pit line? That's tough to say.
Something else you want to keep in mind, and it's kind of a little funny because we always talk about in real life when they come to the restrictor plates, is the manufacturers hook up together. Well, this entire pack that just came into pit road are all Chevys, which I find interesting.
Oh, Jack Bauer caught the pit wall.
Oh, that's a rough incident. Another rough incident is Grenier, because I was right. He did get caught speeding on pit road. He's leaving the pit now. So that's two drivers now who are running up the front all race, and now they're going to get stricken out of this race. But, man, that's a tough end for Jack Bauer early in this going.
So we got 4 more cars still on the racetrack that have not pitted. It's Kinder, Lancaster, Osborne, and LeBourgeois. They were all hanging back. They were the last 4 cars in the field. These 4. So they were 18th through 21st. They should come in this time by no. Wow, LeBourgeois. He's going to pit on his own back there. You saw him at the top of your screen. He's going to pit as a sole Chevrolet. But these 3 Mustangs going to stay out and do one more lap. This is really pushing the issue. But they have to, actually, because if you just pit 15, 15, 15 all the way, you're going to be 4 laps short of 94. So these guys really have to go a little bit longer. I wonder if those other guys will lengthen the rest of their runs by a lap or so to make it up to 94 laps.
Also got to keep in mind that the fact that it's Kinder and Lancaster, 2 guys that we saw for a while being the guys who stretch the fuel out longer than anybody else, and it's kind of the strategy they play. Because also keep in mind in this race, they start at the back and they have stayed at the back. They've ran in the back 3 spots the entire race thus far, so they're saving more fuel than the guys running for the lead. As now here they come. The Mustangs are coming in about 2 or 3 laps later than the first lead pack. So now those guys are going to come safely down there, and those 2 are going to be hooked up for the rest of this race. So we saw a Chevy train come down. Now we're seeing a Mini Ford train come down, but a lot of these manufacturers are going to start hooking up with each other unintentionally, but still regardless, we're seeing it happen even in iRacing. Ed Osborne. Man, the brakes are not working well for a lot of these drivers. That's the second driver. That's going to ruin the train that these guys had going, because now it's just going to be Kinder and Lancaster, and Osborne's going to be a sitting duck for this late pack.
And here come the leaders to go on by them as they're in the pit lane. Justin Winters brings Brandon Young and Brandon Robertson. A couple of Brandons as one of them is trying to pass him for the race lead. Robertson with help now from Tanner Webb and the 33 of Wyatt Brackett. They line up on the top side. In behind them up top is actually Nicholas Noggle as well. 4 cars to 2, top to bottom. It looks like it might be 5 to 2 as some of those guys exit the pit lane. There's LeBourgeois exiting. But Brandon Robertson currently a race leader. These guys getting on by those Ford Mustangs that were in the pit lane a little bit late. So these guys already on their 4th lap of their run. I'm very interested to see how this works out for them staying out, or not staying out, pitting so much earlier.
That's going to be very, very interesting to see what happens if one of them was able to figure out a short pit, which is something that we see a lot of these guys do. Is you're able to figure out a short pit before the race even begins, and then that's just how they run the strategy for the whole race and end up winning. Robertson has been such a key figure when it comes to pit strategy. We saw him perform an undercut on John Kinder before at Darlington and Bristol. It was something that he was able to do to pass him, because if he couldn't pass him on the track, he passed him in the pits, and that's something he's probably going to try and do here today. But regardless, it's not going to help him in his points fight unless a wreck happens. With the fact that it's 21 cars and they've all pitted now, the likelihood of a caution coming out has really thinned, because the only lead pack is about 5 or 6 cars, and they're about single foul for the most part.
watching from the back end of Brandon Robertson back at Tanner Webb. And Robertson's actually staggered a bit higher than Webb right now going into the tri-oval. Webb almost looks like he wants to get to the inside of Robertson, get a sniff of that lead. I wonder if they're working together. Oh, well, now I see why, because they're passing Matt Grenier, who had that speeding penalty, and he will get lapped. And is that for the first or second time? That is for the first time. So he's now lapped down with Chris LeBourgeois, who has lost the lap after pitting on his own. And, well, it's actually relatively tame. I say that, and Brendan Young and Ronnie Shirk go up to the wall on the outside of the corner. But, yeah, things have really just kind of calmed down a little bit. The field is kind of spread out, just as we suspected it might. So we're looking at the top. Oh, there goes Webb to the bottom side of Brandon Robertson. He gets the lead away from that number 2 car. And, Grenier is going to go up top with him.
Yeah, I was starting to get antsy up here at lap 21 as LeBourgeois shoots down the apron. I thought he was going to go back to the pits. No, he looked like he just lost control for a second. But regardless, now we see Robertson and Grenier going to work together. Thankfully, because of Grenier getting that pack, they've now gained one more car to that train, and they're going to be able to run more together. I'm not exactly sure what Shirk's plan is right now. He ran on the outside all by himself, and he's tugging in, but look how far behind he is, about almost over a full car length behind that 15. So he's not going to be able to get much passing done, so he should honestly just stay within them, because thanks to Grenier being lapped down, if he's able to clear all of them, he's going to be second in the running right now, which would be really good for him. But right now, Tanner Webb holds that spot. How about Wyatt Bracken at 33? He started at the tail end of the field, and now he's running third right now. So this has been a really good turnaround after the first cycle of pit stop. Now he's actually a contender for the race lead with the likes of Webb, Robertson, and Noggle.
Noggle almost makes contact with the 15 car there of Grenier, but they get it sorted out. And Grenier is a lapped car. Keep that in mind as well. If he pushes the 2 car of Robertson out to the lead, maybe even clears Webb and moves down with him, that would actually put a car in between first and second. I do want to look back at that other group of cars. In fact, we're going to go back to Ed Osborne and company. This is Jack Bauer, Brian Terry, Joshua Abbey, Ed Osborne, Travis Miller, Daniel Worthington, and Wes Wiggin, all just in a group here. 7 cars total with Osborne stuck on the outside. I'm not sure that's really helping them, but hey, I guess it's up to them to figure out how they want to run. Meanwhile, John Kinder, Adam Lancaster, and David Brackett are up ahead of those guys. This is 10th through 12th, and it's interesting to me that they actually got clear of Jack Bauer and the rest of that group. I'm not sure that they would have short fueled those cars, but they have separated themselves. And of course, after Wes Wiggin at 19th would be Matt Grenier and Chris LeBourgeois in the back end of the field. But up at the front, it's 2 by 2 by 2 for the first 3 rows, despite having that lapped car in the 15.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting to look at it this way, is the fact that all the points leaders that are in a fight for this championship are on their own little pack of theirs. Winners is in the lead pack up here at the front. Kender's in the middle of that 3-car back. And if you look at that tail end pack, that's where you find Travis Miller. So they're pretty well separated in their own little cliques, kind of, in this race. So that's something I kind of noticed looking through the field. It's like they're all on their own. But right now, Robertson is what you would kind of call the 4th contender, but not so much because of the points deficit that he has fallen into with that 51 points gap with the drop weeks. So right now, this would be a really good thing for him, but with Winners still running up there in the top 6, it's not going to mean much other than just the fact of getting a win at Talladega would be really good for his momentum after that terrible run at Bristol last week.
Yeah, don't forget that Brandon Robertson is still very much in this at this point. It's going to be interesting to see how he can contend through these last few races and see if he can make that deficit back up, especially if we have issues for some of those other drivers that he'd be contending with. It's going to be tough for him to make that gap up, but it just might be doable, especially if he can win at a place like Talladega. And if Justin Winters and company has issues, Justin Winters currently riding in the 7th after starting 6th with a few laps led as well to his name. Of course, we always like to talk about the weather that these drivers have to get through and contend with at these racetracks, be it Brands Hatch with the Northwest GT3 Challenge earlier this week, or Indianapolis last night for the Operation eMotorsport iRacing League. But at Talladega, it's not going to make too much of a difference except for tire wear, and it is 81.2 degrees, a little bit warm, especially as we're heading into fall. It is September 30th after all, and it's taking that track temp a little bit high. 98 degrees, not too bad. It shouldn't wear these tires out too much. I think if there were 43 cars out here, it would take that track temp up just a little bit more. but at 98, it shouldn't be too bad for these tires, despite being right around 81, 82 degrees.
Yeah, you talk about the 81 degrees, and thinking about it is a little too hot. Actually, down here in Florida where I am, the highest we got was 81. We're actually in the fall weather, so in all honesty, a high of 81 is considered fall weather. That's around the peak time when it happens if you're running at that temperature, because in the actual heat, you get up to 96 degrees. So right now, that's actually a really cool day in Alabama if it's 81 degrees right now.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I forgot this is down in Alabama where everything's just cooking all the time. I'm used to North Carolina up at this point. And it's not 81 degrees. I think it gets into the 70s right now, but a lot of times in the high 60s. Regardless, Brandon Robertson leading the way, Tanner Webb up behind him, and Grenier is kind of fallen out of this thing at this point. He is the first car one lap down, but he's not up there. Actually, no, he's fighting with Chris LeBourgeois. Look at that. Those two side by side for the lucky dog position if a caution does come out. But at this point, they are in the most concentrated pack on the racetrack, and I think if we're going to have a caution that comes out, it will be in the most concentrated pack more than likely.
Yeah, because that Mustang, the Chevy pack that's all the way back there. No, it is the Mustang pack. That's all in the back there of the likes of Miller, Abbey, Worthington, and Wiggin. Those guys have actually really started to calm down. They've kind of formed themselves into a single file line almost. The only people that are really on the outside is Wiggin and Abbey. But yeah, for the most part, the only way you're going to see a caution is with that lead pack, just because of how intense they have been. They have been relentless for this race lead, because something that I didn't realize is leading a lap does get you 2 bonus points. That's something I didn't factor in, is that bonus points are a thing in this league. You get a bonus point for leading the most laps, you get the bonus point for leading a lap. So that's something a lot of these drivers are trying to do, and that's something I think Robertson is also trying to do, because the more laps he leads, he gets the lap led. That's 4 extra points to that tally mark of his as he tries to close down this championship. Because the thing about it is Travis Miller and John Kender haven't led a single lap, and Winners has led barely any, if at all.
Winners has led 3 so far this evening, but we are coming right up to the second round of pit stops, actually. They pitted on lap 15 the last time. This is lap 29. Expect them either the next time or a couple of laps after. It depends on whether or not they realize that they have to go 94 laps, not just 90, because 15 is a, 90 is divisible by 15, so 90 is a multiple there of 15. So if they just ran 15 laps all night long, they'd get to 90, but they have to go 4 more circuits around this place, and I wonder who's going to realize that first, and it seems like it's been John Kinder and company, so I guess really who's going to realize that second as Ronnie Shirk Jr. takes the lead here at Talladega Superspeedway. Scott Fritz giving him a big push, and Scott Fritz was one of those drivers to watch out for at Daytona. I would imagine that should translate, like you said, Noah, to Talladega this evening. Jack Bauer, his running mate at Daytona, not with him right now. Jack Bauer has fallen back to, I'll check my timing sheet, 17th position so far. Chris LeBourgeois goes up there with him, but this is where I'd expect some of these drivers to pit.
Yeah, this is exactly around the part where you want to pit. It's been about 15 laps. When you talked about having a short pit, or just pit with about 4 to go. So that's kind of the same exact scenario we ran into at Darlington for drivers like Robertson and Kinder. And we were wondering how are they going to pull this off just because of how close it was going to be on fuel run, but they're able to figure out. So I'm not really too worried about how they figure this out with the fuel run. The only thing I'm worried about is who's going to go with them, who's actually calculated that, or if they're just going to follow the leader and go down there with them, if they're going to try and undercut them, pit earlier, pit later, and try to pass them and beat them with the amount of fuel they take. But I wouldn't really count out or worry about the people fighting for the points lead, because they probably already have the amount of fuel that they need to run to the end of this race, and they already know exactly how much they need for when they pit, and they're just going to be good to go to the end.
It does look like the rest of the field has realized they have to go at least a couple extra laps on these runs from here on out, and we have some poking down to the pit lane. Not just yet, it looks like. We will keep checking in with all of these groups as they get ready to make their second pit stops on the evening. Yeah, everybody went by the last time. No tankers on lap 30. We'll see about 31 coming to 32. Everybody stays out once more. So, yeah, it seems like they've all realized at this point they have to go a little bit further to stretch themselves out so they can make 94 laps. Now, if you're Adam Lancaster, if you're John Kinder, if you're Ed Osborne, can you maybe go even a little bit longer and actually stretch this thing out to eliminate a pit stop? I'm going to do some math and give you this as they might come around to pit this time.
They're heading now through turns 3 and 4. We're hearing a lot of drivers hit Robertson, one of the guys who just keyed up pitting. Webb also opting to pit. Matt Grenier, Wyatt Bracken all staying. So here they come. The leaders now down pit road. Robertson, Webb, Brackett, Nago, Grenier, and Maurer. All those guys are going to come down pit road. Watch out for Grenier again. A little more aggressive on pit road again as he tries to make it in. So we're going to have to watch him to see if he does speed again. But that's really going to block the inside line as Grenier started closer to the front. Oh, they're going to contact as Brackett, who tried to make his pit stall, is going to get turned into the wall. And that's going to ruin his, well, not ruin, but hinder his race and hinder the 15's race.
And he's still trying to get in his pit stall. It looks like Grenier the same. Ronnie Shirk and some others stay out this time by. They should come in, or the last time by, they should come in this time by. Doing some math, they might be able to eliminate a pit stop, actually, by running those extra 4 laps. So we might really be talking about John Kinder winning another one back to back to back now. Justin Winters has to miss LeBourgeois. LeBourgeois, what do you do? He just misses the pit lane entirely, but that means Justin Winters and Brandon Young will continue on as Ronnie Shirk comes in with just Scott Fritz. So this is what you have to be weary of. You've really got to coordinate this stuff like this rear group has. These guys are going to be the most organized when they re-enter the racing surface. Now all eyes turn to, well, Ed Osborne comes in with these guys, but let's see, has Adam Lancaster come back in? No. So Adam Lancaster, John Kinder might have the winning strategy right here. By my math, I think they can eliminate a pit stop, which is really, really important when you're slowing down to 55 miles an hour as opposed to 185 plus.
And something you can also eliminate is Ronnie Shirk Jr., because I watched him as he get into pit road. He hit that line at least 10 miles an hour over the speed limit, so he is going to get a stop and hold for that 40 seconds that we see that really ruined Grenier's race. And with the fact that how spread out they really are, he's gonna be really, really far out the pace. You see him exiting the pits now way beyond the pass where the leaders were, so he's gonna really fall off the pace because of that unless he got lucky. But I clocked him in going at about 61 miles an hour entering pit road, so I'm not too sure how that's gonna end out for him, but I don't expect a lot of good things happening to the 7 as you see Kinder and Lancaster, the 2 guys who were really, really strong together when running at these big tracks in fuel strategy, as they both have already keyed up. They're pitting this time by, so they're going to come in now. So they're going to run an extra few more laps compared to the leaders. And about good timing, too, as they catch up to the tail end of these cars coming out of pit road. So it's going to help them as they enter. But now, again, they're about, I would say, 4 or 5 laps further than anybody else. Oh, Lancaster came in really hot. He came in clocking out on that cone at about 70 miles an hour. So I'm not sure how well iRacing is going to give him the benefit of the doubt on that one, as he might get a stop and hold for that as well.
Well, it's a matter of average speed when they come in, so Shirk might be able to avoid that penalty, but Lancaster definitely shooting himself in the foot. I don't think he's going to get away scot-free as John Kinder leaves all on his own. Not only is that going to hinder the 21 of John Kinder, but I don't think they would have had the strategy anyways, because they pitted a couple of laps early, and they would have been only one lap to the good. They would have come out to 95 laps if they had run 19-19 all the way, and they end up coming in after 17. So unfortunately, well, I don't think that strategy is going to work anymore. I don't know if these guys did that math pre-race, but it would have been good to, that's for sure.
Something that John Kinder is going to like to see, though, is that 38 David Brackett, who he worked with earlier in the race, I believe. He is actually going to come off of turn number 2 at about right now, which is close to where he is. He's actually on the opposite end of the racetrack at turn number 3, so not that far away. Nathan Maurer, though, your new race leader, as Nago runs second. Robertson has fallen back to third, as Shirk Jr. got really lucky, and now he is actually still with the lead pack as Fritz on the outside. Those two, again, working that top line to try and get around these leaders.
And just looking over to our Facebook chat, we do have a couple of fans out there. I saw Sarah Mays talking. I saw Logan Detweiler actually talking about the NASCAR schedule that was released today as well, and a lot of big changes coming there. I wonder if we might see some of those bleed over to the Bluegrass iRacing series. I mean, tracks like Kona, Road America, they're going to put dirt on Bristol, the Indianapolis road course. A lot of big changes coming to the NASCAR schedule. I wonder how that's also going to reflect into the other tiers in the NASCAR lineup. Regardless, we are coming to lap 38 of 94, and we're just ticking them off one by one. Almost 40 laps through this thing already, Noah. at 47, the completion thereof will be halfway, and we're 10 laps away from it now. So this thing just getting out of the way quickly. I'll knock on wood, because that may change, obviously. But right now, these guys just getting through this race with a nice pace.
Yeah, you talk about the schedule shakeup going on right now. So that's something I'm very interested to see with the addition of Road America and Atlanta finally getting a second day back. Hopefully it's a night race, so we get one of those back, like how they did back in the late 2000s, just how good those races were. But one of the things I'm going to point this out, one of the things I'm interested in is to see if NASCAR is willing to change their kind of thought process on how they choose racetracks, because with the addition of Road America, which a lot of people didn't see as a track that the Cup Series would ever go to because of the lack of facilities, now they get one. So that kind of brings the question about what is their stance on other tracks like Milwaukee and IRP. If they get the love and attention that they deserve by their people who own them and upgrade them to a Cup Series level, will they go back there, which would be amazing. But that's a story for another day. But right now at the front is Yoeda Nagel, who has abandoned the bottom side up to the top side with Fritz, getting really feisty up there, made a few really weird bumps in the corners that could have really ended poorly, as now Lancaster, who did get held in the pits, is now leading the last car on the lead lap, trying to stay in front of Nathan Maurer to keep his lap, as Robertson behind them, Ronnie Sherrick Jr. still on the top side with Fritz and Nagel, Robertson, Webb, Winters, and Young on the inside line trying to get hooked up, which would be really good news for Lancaster, who's just trying to hold on to his lead lap.
Well, what you missed right there was that Adam Lancaster just said, nope, I'm staying right in front of you guys. And Nicholas Nagel used him as a pick to get that race lead. And he just held the bottom side down to that very yellow line right where Lancaster was. And Lancaster actually did the right thing by just holding the bottom side, being predictable, and Nagel just trying to use him as a pick. And there was a big checkup that we saw from the onboard of Ronnie Sherrick Jr. that really stacked things up and almost caused a crash. And, I mean, again, Lancaster did the right thing, and Nagel's just using him as a pick. He just wants to get that race lead, so I can't blame either one of those guys. That's just how it comes out sometimes at Talladega when you have a slow car up ahead. But Adam Lancaster now racing the race leader. It's something you can do easily here at Talladega without hindering anybody at a place like, I don't know, Martinsville or something if you were to race the race leaders as a lapped car. So no foul here. No harm, no foul, as Lancaster tries to race these guys a little bit, hang on to now the lucky dog position. If we look down through our running order, I believe he is only one of 3 lap down cars. Now, almost a half a lap down, actually, though, is this group here of 4 cars, it looks like, with Joshua Abbey, Daniel Worthington, Travis Miller, Ed Osborne, Brian Terry trying to hang on to the back of it, but not succeeding so far. David Brackett's a little further ahead, and this is a 5-car group with Wes Wigginton, Jack Bauer, and more in it.
Yeah, and right ahead of them is John Kinder, who is still on his own because of the mistake made by Adam Lancaster. So he's actually kind of hoping to catch up with them, so that way that becomes a 4-car pack, as the lead pack's still running away, as Lancaster has actually made a move. Now he is in front of that lead pack with Ronnie Sherrick Jr., who will assume the race lead once more, as Lancaster very aggressively saying, I'm not staying back here. I want this lead because I want my lap back. I don't care if you're fighting for the race lead. I'm fighting to stay in contention for the win if a caution comes out. So he's going to stay up there and just keep blocking them as if he was running in the final 10 laps for this race lead. So keep an eye on that 28 car, because he is not letting off one bit.
What's interesting about John Kinder is he was just caught, I think, 6 laps later after he came out of the pit lane. That's how much time he had to this group here with Wes Wiggin and company. That's how much time he and Adam Lancaster had when they pitted. And that's incredible. It took him 6 laps to catch up to this 21 car as a lone car, and they're in a group. So they were actually relatively within the range of the race leaders as well. You see them tangoing here. Is Robertson going to take the race lead with help from Nagel? Tanner Webb down to the bottom side. He's got Lancaster behind him, but it's a big, big gap between 8th and 9th right now. You see it on your ticker as well. The top 8 are within a second of one another, often within 0.6 of one another. you have to go another 14 seconds back to get to John Kinder in 9th place right now. That is insane that they have let themselves fall that far behind. It's only going to increase because these leaders are running rather quickly. They are battling. They are racing their hearts out. They are going full throttle, and those guys further back are kind of laying back right now. And I'm not sure you can make up 15 seconds at any point in time at Talladega in modern NASCAR. Of course, Bill Elliott did it. I'm not sure these guys can do it. You see LeBourgeois re-entering the racetrack after a pit stop. He is now 3 laps down.
And you saw Robertson was kind of all by his lonesome there on the top side after getting abandoned by all the people he was working with. Lancaster going to say, okay, I'll come up with you. Because again, he wants his lap back. He's going to do everything he can to do it. He's like, I'm already a lap down. I'm already a lucky dog spot because the Grenier isn't anywhere near me. So I might as well try something. So now he's going to try and help Robertson get back up to the front of this field. And they're pretty well hooked up as Fritz and Shirk Jr. on the bottom side, still a little bit gapped away from Webb and Nautilus. Fritz now trying to peek up to the top side. Instead, he's going to island himself in the middle, and he's probably going to fall back as maybe Shirk almost tried to make it a third lane in the middle. And they're going to go 3 wide down the start-finish line as Lancaster tried to go around the 100 to get in front of him.
Yeah, he was just peeking up there, and he was just getting some clean air on his nose, and these guys are just trying to see what's going to work right now. Of course, they are also going to experiment, I think, these next few laps, trying to figure out what they can and can't do. They are coming up to their pit window here in a few laps, and they've got to keep extending things by a couple of laps over 15 because they've got to run out to 94 and not give themselves an extra pit stop. Nicholas Noggle, Ronnie Shirk Jr., Tanner Webb, your top 3, and they are going at it lap 45 of 94. We are coming up to halfway as Lancaster gets a big run on the top side.
Yeah, he's really trying to peek up on the top side and try and get around that 17 of Webb. He's just doing whatever he can to try and get around these guys, but it's just not going to work. He doesn't have anybody to work with, so he's going to go hook up with the 17 again. Now third car in line if he was still on a lead lap as he hooks up with him. As still it's just Nicholas Noggle and Ronnie Shirk who have resumed the first and second spot as they're going to try and run away with this. As they're now 3 wide down the back straightaway for the race lead. As Shirk try to make a move in the middle, and they're still side by side as it's a drag race on the straightaway.
Side by side they go 3 abreast through turn number 3, and now Tanner Webb falls back. Are they going to pit this time, or are they going to keep waiting? Looks like they're all going to stay out one more time, at the very least, to lap 47 halfway. So if they do come in at 47 halfway, I mean, I guess they're on track to make it the full distance. I do want to call out our social media guy this evening, Trey Shuttlesworth, because I just got the notification for the most recent tweet that was put out. Right when things get settled in, it's time for another round of pit stops on PitStop TV. Golly. Bad jokes, but it works. And I think about that actually every time I say pit stop or something like that, because it's so close, and I guess it works for us, especially when we have these rounds of pit stops rather often on PitStop TV. But anyhow, Ronnie Shirk Jr., race leader, off into turn number 3. Nicholas Noggle in second place. Adam Lancaster, that 28 car, a lap down. And of course, you can follow along with our social media on Facebook and Twitter as we come around to complete one half 125 miles this afternoon at Talladega Superspeedway. Halfway home, cross flags at Dega.
That 7 of Ronnie Shirk Jr. started on the outside pole. Still your race leader as Noggle, who started on the pole, still in second place right behind him. So the people who started 1-2 are 1-2. As they lead the field off at turn number 2. Fritz, who is, again, having a really strong run tonight, really starting to show his colors here as a strong plate contender. And in all honesty, this is probably one of the last chances he has unless he has something up his sleeve for the Roval or Martinsville. So he is really taking every shot he can to try and take this race lead. Webb's still back there in 4th. Robertson and Winters falls back behind them, and it's Young and Maurer. So that bottom line has really started to single file themselves out, and they're just going to start tearing up these laps and create even more of a spread to that 9th place car that you talked about of John Kinder.
And now watching for some pit stops, possibly this time by. Looks like they'll all go at least another lap on the racetrack. And now we look back at that tertiary group. So we got 3 groups on the racetrack, and 2 of them rather close. Is actually the group of 8th through 13th is only just ahead of 14th through 18th, and this is the gap from the front end of Joshua Abbey up to the back end of David Brackett. That's how close it is. They're going to be one group soon, and we're going to have to pay attention to them towards the rear of the field. Ronnie Shirk leads out of turn number 4, and Nicholas Noggle will come in. Brandon Robertson, Tanner Webb as well, and ooh, Tanner Webb almost pitted from the racetrack right there.
Yeah, very bad call that could have caused a wreck, but luckily he was able to get out of the way. Something I also noticed with the fact of all those guys, yeah, they got hooked up now, and they're going to split up now, but if those guys got hooked up and they ran a couple laps and they pitted together, that would have been a lethal combo because those guys have about double the car count that the lead pack has. So if they stuck together, they could have ran down the leaders. We could have seen the pack reform, as now they're going to send it off into one. Kinder's still leading that pack as the Miller and crew goes on to pit road. As your current race leader still is going to be Ronnie Shirk Jr., Scott Fritz, and Winters in tow behind. As they enter turn number 3 and 4, as we might see him pit this time.
Out of turn number 4, Ronnie Shirk continues to lead, and they'll all come in, it looks like. Oh, Ronnie slows down on the racing surface, almost right in front of Justin Winters there. That was almost rather bad for Justin Winters as he tries to pass Travis Miller at the points. And right now, if this does somehow go green, I'm knocking on wood once again, Justin Winters will take the points lead by a decent margin over Travis Miller, who's just been in the back the entire race along, as Justin actually just put him a lap down currently. But, of course, the 88 does still have to pit. And I wouldn't be surprised if Lancaster comes with him. Looking at cars that have stayed out, well, the only other car is going to be Adam Lancaster. Everybody else came in that time by. So the pit lane, a rather busy place where Scott Fritz, David Brackett, John Kinder, and more came in that time. They're all exiting now. So it's just a matter of when these leaders come in, Justin Winters and Brandon Young. And you may as well keep running some laps at this point. You've kind of already made your bed. May as well lie in it and just run a few extra laps. Extend how much fuel you will have. And the big thing about that is if it comes down to a very late race green-white checkered, they might not have to pit. And if they end up being, 14th or so, if they're not up in the race lead and they have to pit at a possibly late race green-white checkered, they're not going to go anywhere. But if they can stay out under that caution where everybody else can't, they'll come out 1-2 and be able to control that finish.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what you want to do. But something that you also keep in mind is how long they stay out there. As John Kinder, I believe, just said he's pitting, waiting to see if Winters just said he's going to pit. That was one of the things I was wondering. If those guys try to stay out any longer than they already are, that's going to cause some big issues. Because the last thing you want to do is stay out while the field gets caught up. Because if they get caught up, they're going to freight train you while you're still exiting the pits. As Kinder comes back down pit road, I question if something was wrong or if he just stayed out, because I thought I saw him pit with the other leaders. So maybe he had an incident exiting pit road, or he just stayed out longer because, he's taking tires now, which is an interesting call. So I'm honestly interested in how he caught up with them.
Yeah, I believe he had already pitted, so this is really going to hurt the 21 car of John Kinder. But Justin Winters, Brandon Young exiting the pit lane. We'll see how they come out in relation to the rest of the field. And Brandon Young actually a little ways behind Justin Winters. That's a large gap to exit the pit lane with. They'll have to get lined up quickly. There go the race leaders now. Nathan Maurer, Nicholas Noggle, and Brandon Robertson. So this lead group, there we go, really splits up, and this is going to be interesting the rest of the way. Young right on the yellow line. That could be a penalty.
Yeah, something I also noticed because of all of this, where these guys are coming out of pit road with the points leaders, Robertson's strategy is looking pretty good. Even without the big wreck to take him out, he has outrun all of the 3 championship contenders, with Kinder being stuck a lap down, with Miller running in the back of the field, and Winters just exiting the pits all on his lonesome. Robertson is still running up there with that lead group all the way up in third. So if he takes the win, that could do really, really good for his points, considering how many laps he has led so far. So he's looking at a pretty good point today. If things stand out, we don't get a caution because this stays green, he's in a really good spot to put himself back in contention for the championship with the last 3 remaining races on the schedule.
Well, the big thing for him last week is Bristol was a double points race. Here at Talladega, it's single points and just normal points, so he can't really gain quite as much as he lost last week at Bristol. But if he's able to capitalize at the Roval next week, that's going to be big for Robertson. So really, he's just got to concentrate on practicing turning left and right, and he might be able to leave the Charlotte Motor Speedway Roval back in this championship fight for places like Martinsville and Kentucky. And of course, Kentucky, another one to try and capitalize on, as we have a caution flag. And who is it? I saw Justin Winters slow, but I think that was a scoring error. I'm trying to find where this one is. It is possibly, I'm looking for the 88. I just saw him. He is in the pit lane. Justin Winters in the pit lane.
I'm trying to see exactly what happened to him as well. He was very...
He is turned around. Did he blow a motor?
Yeah, he was very slow after crossing the start-finish line. Yeah, I think he blew a motor because coming across the start-finish line, he was at 181 miles an hour, and ever since then, it's just slowing down. I'm going to look at an onboard to see if I can hear anything. Yeah,
did he run out of gas?
I think he did run out of gas because the engine's sputtering.
No.
Either the it has to be running out of gas because the engine's still going, but there's just nothing in it. So if that is a
no.
Again, we talked about this is a track that Winters circled on the calendar as a possible drop week because of just how it is. Now it's already
kind of he's slowing down. This is what brings the yellow out because he's still technically on the racing surface here as he's dropping down in speed and faster cars are coming by. This is wow.
That's going to really restack the field and kind of eliminate the possibility of these drivers having the short pit, because if they pit now, they could be within a good spot to get it with one more pit stop, and they could pit with about 10 laps to go. So it's going to be very interesting to see what these drivers opt to do. But man, that is just a heartbreak for the 88, but also a heartbreak for the 21, who is still trying to get his lap back as well. So he's really hoping that all these guys pit, he's able to stay out. But that's also bad news for Brandon Robertson, who is now going to have to refight with Travis Miller, who's really his last contender of the points leaders who he was fighting with on track to get back in this championship hunt.
The crew is saying it was a glitch with iRacing, that it should have fueled his car, and it did not. We have takers and leavers here under this caution flag. Most of the field coming in. Ronnie Shirk Jr., Scott Fritz do not. Nathan Maurer leads all that group of cars down the pit lane. I see Nicholas Noggle, Brandon Robertson, and more coming in. I think you may as well just go ahead and pit. Make sure you've got fuel. You figure out the strategy later because, as Larry McReynolds likes to say, this changes everything, and it's hard to draw a strategy up in your head rather quickly. Lancaster will stay out. He, I think, was hoping to get the lucky dog. Yeah, there he goes. He does get the lucky dog. So at first I was meaning that I thought he was trying to get the wave around, but he wouldn't get that because the leader stayed out. So he does get the lucky dog right there. And Wes Wiggin and Moore will have to try and find their way back onto the lead lap in some other way, because Wes Wiggin, Matt Grenier, and John Kinder all 1 lap down. Justin Winters now 2 laps down. That's a killer right there for Justin Winters. Comes in 1 point behind Travis Miller. And now is going to leave who knows how many points behind. He's 2 laps down in 20th position, only ahead of Chris LeBourgeois, and no longer because Chris just passed him under caution.
Yeah, but now we basically know, as of right now, what his 2 drop weeks will be, because we already know that Pocono was one that he had on his mind, and now Talladega, which he had circled since Darlington, we know that is more than likely going to be an automatic drop week. So 2 very, very disappointing finishes for the 88, who was running so well for the first part, but then, just iRacing, I guess, having a little small error, and that's going to unravel his entire race. So now he has to come into these last 3 races and perform his guts out on tracks that he sees as a wild card, like the Roval. That's a track that he's very interested in, because none of these guys have ran on a road course all season in this league. It's going to be very interesting to see how they tackle the right hands that is at Charlotte Motor Speedway with that infield road course.
Since we have some time under this yellow flag, we'll of course talk to a driver out in the field, and that driver for the first time all season is going to be David Brackett. And David, it's my understanding that you and Team New England not only battled through power outages today up in the Northeast and specifically in Maine, but are presenting this evening's race and broadcast. Hey, David, you got us? David Brackett, it's Andrew from the PitStop TV booth. Do you have us? Well, we gave it a shot at talking to him. I'll move him back up there with his Team New England teammates. But regardless, it's good to touch on that subject that he and Team New England are presenting this evening's race and broadcast. Doesn't look like we'll get to talk to a driver this caution flag, but if we get another one, we'll try and talk to another driver out in the field. So far, it's been a good one, I think, at Talladega Speedway, Talladega Superspeedway here in Lincoln, Alabama. No, I'm glad that you're here with me. I'm very glad that we have Trey Shuttlesworth on social media making bad jokes about us being PitStop TV and covering pit stops. But we, of course, want to thank some of our partners this evening, and we'll lead right off talking about some Tucson Sound Art. And quite simply, it's just a really cool product. You should hit them up at TucsonSoundArt.com. And we've read the plug a million times at this point. Just know that it's putting a picture from any moment in your life on your wall forever, or as long as you want to keep it, I suppose. I suggest forever. And it plays music. I mean, why wouldn't you want something like that? We also want to thank the BRP iRacing Series, which I believe it's been announced at this point that we will be covering their next season of dirt racing in the BRP iRacing Series. So that should be a lot of fun. PitStop TV going back dirt racing. That's exciting to me. They run currently they run 360 wing sprint cars, and when the Big Block mods ever come out, because they are organized by Big Block mod drivers, crew guys, fans, whatever, what have you, they will be adding those to their series lineup. Of course, we want to thank Permanent Makeup and Cryo in Maine, a long-standing partner of us here at PitStop TV, and Whiplash Media. You can get the camera pack that you're seeing this evening and others that we have on all of our streams at Whiplash Media, as well as paint schemes, stream overlays, you name it. We can probably get it sorted out for you at Whiplash Media. Also getting into the real world, photography, social media, public relations, stuff like that. So you should definitely check all of our partners out. Again, that is Tucson Sound Art, TucsonSoundArt.com, Permanent Makeup and Cryo in Maine, Permanent Makeup and Cryo in Maine on Facebook, PermanentMakeupInMaine.com, the BRP iRacing Series on Facebook, and Whiplash Media at whiplash-media.com or Whiplash Media on Facebook. I'll catch my breath, Noah, and we're coming to the green flag, coming to lap 59 of 94. We have some Crank It Up cameras modeled after the real Crank It Up cameras. What do you say we do so and crank it up on this restart as we go back green flag racing? And boy, they almost wadded things up there on the start, or on the restart rather, Noah. But look at this. Travis Miller up to P1 with help from Daniel Worthington. The 22 leads once again, this time at Talladega Superspeedway, trying to pick up from where he left off at Daytona to open up the season. The BRP iRacing Series, Gaston's Auto Sales, number 22, gets back into things, and he's contending with some of the best so far that we've seen this evening. Brandon Young's up there, Scott Fritz as well. Ronnie Shirk was that car that you saw go down to the inside off that restart. Thankfully, he gathered things up and keeps racing here at Talladega. Wes Wiggins up there. Scott Fritz tries to go to the inside of Brandon Young, and, well, they get it sorted out now, single file, but this is a true pack here at Talladega.
Yeah, that restart really kind of opened up Pandora's box, and now everybody's going to look for the race lead. They know how important it is now because of how spread out they got under that caution. Oh, really close quarter racing between the 113 and the 51, as that could have ended a very hard hook right turn into the outside retaining wall. That it was avoided, as these guys are getting really aggressive up here, making moves and jumping up lanes, trying to get in front of each other to make these runs. Now Brandon Young looks on the top side with Nicholas Noggle, Jack Bauer in the 48, who we hadn't seen a lot since that first round of pit stops. He's now back up there with the lead. Right behind them, though, is where you find the fight for the lucky dog, because on the bottom is Wes Wiggin in the 188, on the top is a 15 of Matt Grenier. So that's another race for the lead going on here on who gets their lap back. John Kinder was currently leading that, but he got shoved out of line now at the very tail end of the lucky lead, the first lap down, as they're getting really antsy up here at the front.
You know, in recent weeks, even as a Logano fan, I've noticed that a lot of drivers are getting fed up with Joey Logano's blocking in the NASCAR Cup Series. Well, the 22 keeping things consistent as Ronnie Shirk Jr. goes fastest. And it's worth mentioning with Ronnie Shirk, actually, real quick, that he was the halfway leader presented by Rims 1, and he will get that $10 reward. Thanks to John Kinder for putting that deal together. But yeah, the 22, I guess, keeping things consistent, rather, as he put an interesting block, or an attempt at a block on Brandon Young that time out of turn 4. That was never going to work, but thankfully Brandon rolled over for him and kept things going. What is interesting to me is these guys might just be a lap or so short of the end of the race. It's going to be tight if they can try and stretch fuel from that last yellow out to the end. We're coming to 30 to go, and they've run now 8 laps. Now, some of those were yellow, but that's still 8 laps that these guys have been burning some fuel. Call it 6 probably since they topped off on fuel. It's going to be close. It's going to be very, very close.
Miller has got to be very careful. I don't know if you saw that, but he ran up to the top side, almost ran across the 51's nose, dove back down to the bottom side, almost ran across the 113's nose. He is playing with fire, and it's going to start a absolute melee if he keeps doing that with the amount of blocks he has been pulling. You talk about Joey Logano, it is staying consistent with the likes of Miller, because he is not wanting to give up this race lead. Oh, here they go. They're going to get turned around. That's the big one. It's going to Kinder, Robertson, Winters, I believe, is involved. Jack Bauer's involved. And it's a Talladega style wreck, as now only 6 cars are surviving that one.
John Kinder's in it. Bauer. I see Terry. I see Abby. Ed Osborne, Nathan Maurer, Justin Winters, Tanner Webb, and more. Brandon Young, it looks like, as well, who was... Well, he was running second place there for a little bit. I wonder how he got caught up in this one. Well, let's go ahead. Let's rewind and find out. This is a proper Talladega big one out of turn number 4. Oh, my gosh. That still doesn't even show the cause. We'll try and figure it out here.
If you look on the back, you see the 08 Nicholas Noggle. I believe it was just one bad bump in a corner, and you can't do that at a track.
Well, and he had just done that, and there's the replay, because he had just almost hooked Brandon Young. So I wonder if that's how it happens right here as well.
You see him come through turns 3 and 4. Now we're going to wait to see it. Yep, he's going to hook him right where the Camry logo is, and it's going to just cause a parking lot as... Oh my... David Bracken at 38 came really close to saving that, but then he got caught in the middle and it just took a dead right turn up into the 48 of Jack Bauer. Someone who I'm interested in seeing the onboard of is possibly 83, who got a front row view of all of that. As you see the up top views as they come turn 3 and 4, it's going to be very interesting to see if anybody was able to make it through that unscathed.
So it happens there. It starts up, and I think the grandstands are going to just be in the way, but I'm back up for this. We can see it from this angle. This is just massive. This takes out most of the field, and thankfully they have a faster pair. These guys are not done, but they are on edge. They are on thin ice the rest of the race, because if they get another incident, that is game over for these guys. Let's get that on board from the 83 car that you mentioned, and we'll just watch it from the Bourgeois' perspective. This is a big accident out of turn number 4 for only a 21 car field especially.
Someone who I also want to see an onboard after this is the 33 Wyatt Bracken, because he got really lucky. He actually kind of ARCA braked into the 88, and that's kind of how he got involved in that. So that was a kind of a separate incident out of all of that. But man, just look at the parking lot created by all of that carnage you see there. But if you can, get on board that 33, because that was a very interesting ride he took through all that I had noticed.
Well, let's go ahead and watch from the onboard of the 33 car of Wyatt Bracken. Countless onboards, it seems like, to ride with for this one, and oh my. Oh, and, well, he gets body slammed by Brian Terry. That's where some of that damage comes from. Otherwise, does he get through unscathed? I think so. That's incredible. That could have been so much worse for the driver of the 33.
Now you see the onboard of Justin Winters, who was trying to kind of rally back 2 laps down. He's just running in the back, minding his own business. He's going to get a front row seat in all of this. Just running back there, minding his P's and Q's, because he doesn't have to use his fast spare because he ran out of fuel. We see, yep, he just ran into the rear and then saves it from spinning around, and then just gets on the brake and just slowly rides through the chaos that is left behind after all of that. As that is just an incredible sight to see of how many front run contenders are taken out in that.
Let's watch a few more onboards, why don't we? I mean, this is just, again, countless onboards you can watch from. This is the same one. Let's watch Nicholas Nagel's perspective. Actually, he gets through it scot-free afterwards, but Wes Wiggand, and well, actually he got by it as well. I'm trying to find somebody who got involved in this one, and I guess we'll take a look.
Let's just take an onboard with Young while we're at, because he was the one who got a front row view of all of that.
Well, we'll get him next. We'll get Grenier right now, and then we'll get Brennan Young, and man, it just happens so quickly. And there's nothing these guys can do. I mean, John Kinder, nothing he could have done. Jack Bauer as well. It's just, it happens so quickly. But let's try and get that 51 cars on board as he gets hooked around it. Actually, he has stayed out until now, it looks like, under the caution flag. But he does finally come into the pit lane and get service. So I wonder if he was just trying to get a bonus point before everything's said and done. He finally comes in, and this is now live again, as pit stops for the most part are good and done. Travis Miller stays the race leader, Daniel Worthington with him. And let's see, is this going to be pace car lights out, or will we go one more time around? We will. This is pace car lights out, 1 to green, so we'll stick with it. We won't get a driver this caution. We'll have to try and get the next one, but golly, that is a proper big one at Talladega.
It was going to strike at any moment, and it strikes now, and that's good news for the 88. The 88 actually stayed out, so he was going to run with that rear end damage because he didn't get too much of it just from the shot he took from the 83. So he's going to get back to 1 lap down from the looks of it, I believe. I'm trying to see who might have gotten a lucky dog, if any at all, because of how many were involved in that wreck. But your current race leader still, Travis Miller. On his outside is going to be the 113 of Daniel Worthington. In 3rd place is the 100 UNOH machine of Scott Fritz. 4th is Brandon Robertson and that 2 tied Toyota Camry. And then in 5th is where you're going to find the 17 of Tanner Webb. And then Wyatt Bracken, who miraculously made it to that wreck, he's in lineup 6.
So everything resets once again. Everybody comes down the pit lane, and at this point, we're inside of 30 to go. I think it's a pretty well cut and dry. You got to pit one more time, and that's about it, because even 20 laps from here only gets you to 88, and even that's short. So you're going to have to pit one more time here to the end of this race here at Talladega Superspeedway. Let's recap the point standings coming into this evening. You see some big moves by Adam Lancaster, Nathan Maurer. We'll see how they exit this evening at Talladega. But Travis Miller, that's where the story's at, because Justin Winters gets taken out in that one, gets some damage. Looks like he's going to hang on to the faster pair for now, but man, he's still close to possibly ending up in a big problem. John Kinder likely takes a faster pair there. He could be in another incident and fall down the point standings. Brandon Robertson, all these guys now in trouble of losing some spots in the point standings, and there are some wrecked race cars on this racetrack. Brian Terry, I think, back there with no front end. That thins the herd just a bit, but we'll see who can hang on for just under 30 more laps. Travis Miller gets a big restart, and he will set sail, the race leader, off to turn number 1. They all get spread out on this one.
Yeah, but how much of a run he got, he kind of put himself in a sitting duck scenario because that outside line is going to get hooked up, so expect maybe another aggressive block by that 22. As, man, the back half of the field did not get going, so now it's a 2-car breakaway as Scott Fritz and Travis Miller now going to run the bottom line. Worthington, Robertson, Webb, and Brackett are going to run the top side as now the 122 are going to try and break away from each other as they still try to get single filed out and find their packs as they get ready to close out this race, as there's still quite a few cars and they're still running just as aggressive as they were before, so maybe expect another wreck here in the coming laps.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if these guys get into one another at least one more time before this is all said and done. Scott Fritz brings the fight right to Travis Miller for the race lead. He gets side by side with him. Will he lead at the stripe? It is Travis Miller, it looks like, just barely over the number 100 of Scott Fritz. They battle into turn 1, side by side by side by side by side, multiple rows deep. Joshua Abbey, how about him? He's up into the top 5, and he wants to race this one out with his teammate Daniel Worthington.
Yeah, you see Tanner Webb still, Travis Miller, I don't know why I said Tanner Webb, still your race leader. Scott Fritz now up on the top side, going to work out there. Joshua Abbey, one of the guys who we don't really see much of at the front, now trying to utilize this equalizing race to try and maybe get a good finish for him. Robertson, Webb, and Brackett right behind them as Kinder is right now in the spot to take over the lucky dog position if in fact another caution comes out as he's trying to catch up to the same person he's running with all night for that lucky dogs with his teammate, I believe in the 28, Adam Lancaster. Bauer behind them is going to get hooked up, as it looks like we have a little bit more chaos breaking out the front as now Fritz going to try and take the race lead.
Robertson almost got hooked by Webb, and then Robertson almost hooked Fritz. I mean, these guys are just really laying on the bumpers right now. They've got to be more careful than this because, especially if they're in the point standings battle, they have got to make sure they don't hook somebody or get hooked. And they've really got to pick and choose who they work with at this point. The 2 and 22 is side by side, racing it out for P2, and Robertson, of course, wants to upgrade to P1. We'll see if he can do so. But Miller right now pushing Scott Fritz and pushing him quite aggressively down the front stretch. He gets sideways on his own. Thankfully hangs on to it. That could have been disastrous for Travis Miller. Well, again, these guys are really laying it all on the table right now. Matt Grenier goes fastest. He goes purple on lap 71.
Yeah, they're getting very, very squirrely there on the bottom side as they almost make contact exiting turn number 2 there between the 2 and the 22. Fritz, your new race leader. Robertson trying to take back the race lead with Webb on behind as there's about a 3-on-4 fight as Nagel's still trying to make his way up there. As, really close there for the 22 who almost made a peek on the inside as the 100 kind of made a wider turn going into turn number 3 as they're still dead even off to turn number 4 as that pack on behind him is starting to catch up. So expect this main pack to really bunch up here, and that's where I'm going to start to get worried on if we see another wreck or not.
We're coming to, I believe, 22 laps to go. It's worth mentioning Ed Osborne looks like he's parked it for the evening. David Brackett as well. Chris LeBourgeois is on the racetrack. He's 2 laps down and looks like he's running off pace, probably on his own, I would imagine, maybe with some damage. Justin Winters is keeping up so far, but he is 1 lap down on 18th. Matt Grenier is 17th position, 1 lap down. John Kinder is in this lead pack, but he is 1 lap down as well in the 16th spot. Brian Terry is the final car on the lead lap, and he's going to be lapped here soon. He's some 37 seconds behind these leaders as they go almost 3 wide towards the tail end with Nagel. I see Bracken, I see Shirk, I see Kinder. They're really dicing it up.
Yeah, and just about the entire top 13 drivers in this field are getting bunched up here as Kinder gets left behind as they're going to leave him to dry as they head to turn number 1. That's going to hand the lucky dog spot over to Matt Grenier. So Kinder is going to have to try and catch up or hope that Grenier gets involved in a wreck because with how close these guys are and how unforgiving they have been the last few laps around each other, it's starting to get a little antsy as Fritz now up to the top side to block Miller. Worthington now the lead car on the bottom. Abbey's still back there in third on the top with Maurer right beside him. Adam Lancaster Everson right behind them as now You see the 38 of Brackett as they're going to try and get around them. The 13 of Brian Terry gets into the wall, gets down, almost makes contact with them as they get ready to complete lap number 74 as they head to the triovals. They are getting really close to each other.
And I believe David Brackett had just re-entered the Speedway, so to blow up on that outlap, I believe it was, is tragic for that number 38 car. Hopefully he can get back in at some point, but I think his night is done. Scott Fritz leading. It's lap 75 now. 20 laps to go at Talladega Superspeedway. These guys are racing like it's 2 laps to go, and they are slicing, they are dicing, they are zigging, they are zagging, and they are going for every opening they can right now, and they're getting my heart rate up because we might see these guys wad it up yet again. 20 coming at 18 laps to go, and they are side by side, through and through, racing things out like it's for the win, even if it's for 10th position. Riding on board with Brandon Robertson. He's in behind Joshua Abbey and Travis Miller on the top side, as Miller's going to retake the lead across the stripe. It's Fritz, it's Worthington on the bottom side, and they're trying to get a run back going with the help of Nathan Maurer, Adam Lancaster, who's back on the lead lap. Nicholas Noggle there as well, but he's on the top side. Miller drops down to the bottom, and Joshua Abbey will take the top on the top side. So he's going to take point up there and lead that line. Robertson going to push him. Now Fritz pushing the 22 of Miller.
You talk about people making a comeback. How about Ronnie Shirk Jr.? If we talked about in the last 2 restarts ago, he got a little bad bump on the back straightaway and shuffled all the way outside the lead pack. He's now finding himself second on the top side. Who's behind them? No, the 08 of Noggle as they make their way down the straightaway. Kinder has found himself back up there with the lead pack as now he has retaken the lucky dog position as they go 3 wide through the trial, as now Joshua Abbey is going to lead a lap. So that's 2 bonus points for the 05 machine. Miller right behind him, Fritz in 3rd, Worthington in 4th, and Robertson in 5th. Maurer about to take over the 5th spot as Kinder now going to give Robertson a push and maybe try to form up back on his bottom side or keep that run on the top side going to try and take back the lead.
And I've noticed the 08 and the 7 have been zigging and zagging themselves as they cover the entire backstretch now. Some of these guys kind of working their way up the racetrack. I don't think we're going to... Oh! Brandon Young, big problems. Are they wadding things up? They are. Oh, my gosh. Big problems for Joshua Abbey as well. A caution flag does fly. Wow. Justin Winters is the cause for the yellow, I think, in turn 3, though.
And I was about to say, I'm not exactly sure how that would cause a caution just because of the fact of maybe just trying to prevent it, as it looks like. Yeah, it looks like the engine is... I'm trying to look at the onboard and see what happened. Unless the engine just outright died or not. He's coming out of the pits through turns 1 and 2, and the engine started sputtering. So it might have just died or ran out of fuel.
Same thing for him. Yeah, you know, I wonder if they've got something messed up in when they come into pit and get fuel, because it's the same thing. He's out of fuel down the backstretch. I'm not sure if that's the cause for the yellow. We'll get a replay as to what happens to Brandon Young and company. Oh my gosh, they almost wadded up in 3. Let's try and see what happens to all these guys. So Young was a lapped car. He was getting lapped right here, and they're all... Oh, there it is! Joshua... Oh my! That's why he was in the fence! All of that happened so quickly. We missed a lot of it there, but they did throw the yellow and get that one stopped before it could have been a whole lot worse. Let's see what caused all of the... Well, what kind of caused all of it. The reaction to the 51 car on the bottom side. So the 51 was exiting with Justin Winters, I think, to help him out. And... yeah, it all just gets real hairy real quickly. They all try to go up to the top side and miss the 51 and then try and get back down to the bottom. Oh, I think Miller gets a piece of the 05 when the 05... Oh, and Miller gets the fez! Oh, my gosh.
I want to point out, look how lucky they were of how really bad
that could have been so much worse.
He shot up right in front of the leaders. If Miller didn't hit the wall, he would have just outright took him out with him. As my goodness, that is such a very... bad scenario that could have taken out the entire front lead pack. And just look at the onboard now coming through turn number 3. He's going to try and block him. As you can see, yeah, just runs across his nose because of how close they all were. And wow, that is a very lucky scenario. Ronnie Shark Jr. almost gets collected. Everyone just jamming on the brakes to try to avoid it. And then the caution luckily came out to prevent it from getting any worse than it already was getting to.
We are just inside of the fuel window, so it looks like we'll run from here to the end of the race on one tank. No more pit stops to worry about for these drivers unless they want to come in and get some tires. Nathan Maurer exits the pit lane. The race leader, Scott Fritz, second place. Brandon Robertson in third. Then it's Jack Bauer, Ronnie Shark, Tanner Webb, Nicholas Noggle, Wyatt Brackett, Daniel Worthington, and Adam Lancaster. Your old top 10. David Brackett and Chris LeBourgeois will stay out. Let's see who we want to talk to under this yellow flag. Let's try and get somebody that we maybe haven't talked to yet this season. Of course, since it is Talladega I keep saying Motor Speedway, Talladega Superspeedway, and well, I'll tell you what, Noah, I'm going to give you Scott Fritz riding in second place right now.
Scott Fritz is no Carmichael up here in the PitStop TV booth. You got a copy, buddy?
Yeah, I got you.
Well, we haven't really seen much. You've been a top 10 contender for most of the season, but it seems on these super speedways, you really have been able to make a name for yourself as a front runner. How has it been running up here with the leaders all race?
It's been pretty good. I didn't qualify as good as I wanted to, but I found my way to the front pretty quickly and just been trying to stay up front, keep track position.
Well, we saw on that last caution, the last incident that almost caused a caution, the 05 of Abby shooting back up across the racetrack. Take us through your view on what you saw and what was running through your mind on trying to avoid what could have been a really bad wreck that could have possibly ended your race.
Yeah, I saw he get turned there by Travis and he shot down the racetrack, and I kind of got out of the gas because I figured he was going to come back up, and I couldn't really see where he went, and luckily he missed me barely, but got through it, and we're sitting here in second.
All right, and then before we let you go here to get ready for this restart, take us through maybe your game plan. Maybe who do you plan on working with to maybe try and get this win here tonight to get your first win of the season?
I'm going to see if I can work with Jack here. We've been trying to get hooked together here this entire race. We worked well the entire Daytona race when we led almost the entire race, so we'll see if we can get hooked here and see what we can do.
All right, well, hopefully we get to see more of that. Good luck out there, and hopefully you get to put on a good show for us here up in the booth.
All right, thank you.
So as we get ready to go back green flag racing in, well, probably 2 miles time or so, maybe just under 2 miles, since this place is just, this is a massive racetrack. Let's get another look at this place. I mean, this is just how big Talladega Superspeedway is. And you see, we only have 21 or so pit boxes, but they take up only half of the pit road. And that's consistent for NASCAR tracks, I suppose, but still, the fact that pit lane is so long and we're only taking up half of it, and yet that's still so minuscule in comparison to the rest of the track. I mean, this place is just huge. There's racetracks we go to that, like Martinsville, the pit lane is over half of the racetrack, and here it's just a fraction. We get ready to go back green flag racing inside of 15 to go. In fact, it looks like it will be with 14 laps to go at Talladega Superspeedway for the Bluegrass iRacing Series. Nathan Maurer, the race leader. It's Scott Fritz, who we just talked to, in second place. Jack Bauer, it looks like, in third. And that's Ronnie Shirk Jr. in fourth. Thankfully, he's saved his race, and he's back in it after being our halfway leader, presented by Rims 1. It's Nicholas Noggle in fifth place, and Wyatt Bracken in sixth. Also keep in mind there's another reward that these drivers can race for. It is the Hard Charger, the guy who needs a beer, presented by Ghostface Brewing out of Mooresville, North Carolina. And they also get $10 if they make the most positions from their starting spot to their finishing position, which could be why, John Kinder and some more didn't really qualify in this race. They want a shot at it. Meanwhile, Nathan Maurer, the 971, coming to the restart with the other triple-digit number in the 100 of Scott Fritz. They light those rear tires up, and we're back racing at Talladega with 80 laps in the books.
And it looks like Abby is already trying to make that third lane happen up on the top side. Scott Fritz falls back with Jack Bauer. Well, Jack Bauer would come up to the top side because we talked about it on that in-car interview. He's looking to get hooked up with them because he knows how well they're able to work out. Lancaster now making it 3 wide up there on the top side as they rocket their way down the back straightaway. Going to give a shot to the 971 of Maurer as Scott Fritz is going to retake the race lead. Wyatt Bracken in the 33. You talk about that hard charger award. Right now, I believe he's the guy who's holding on to that. He started 21st. He's running up about the 4th spot. So if he holds on to where he is, he might get $10. He might get himself a beer after this race. Scott Fritz, though, peeking ahead with the race lead. Maurer back there in second as the field still tightening up as Kinder, one of the guys who was able to, lucky enough, get his lap back. He's now back in the fight for this race win, which is bad news for Robertson, who's fallen all the way back to the tail end of this lead field.
The problem for Wyatt Bracken is he did not make an attempt to qualify, which takes him out of the running for that award from Ghostface Brewing Company. But really, I think it's the top 19 that did qualify, and therefore it's those guys that are eligible. Meanwhile, they race in the backstretch, lap 82 of 94. Coming to 12 to go this time by, you see a lot of damaged cars, damaged rear ends in this race. They're still trying to wait things out, just take their repairs as opposed to taking the fast fix and that reset, that mulligan that you only have one of, and if you have to use it again, well, it's not there, and then that's a problem, especially at a place like Talladega where everything changes in an incident, and usually when it changes, it's big. We've already seen a massive one out of turn number 4. Now to complete lap 82, on to lap 83, side by side, I think 9 rows deep, something like that.
Yeah, I believe so. Ronnie Shirk Jr. now leading that outside line with Wyatt Bracken on behind. Adam Lancaster behind them with Joshua Abbey trying to catch up with the likes of Tanner Webb. And then Kinder making a move. Is Abbey going to try and make it 3 wide on the top side? And Webb is just going to fall in line. It's like, all right, you're going to make that move? All right, you can go to the very back of the field. And that's exactly what's going to happen as everybody jumps to the middle lane. And now Abbey is a sitting duck. He's going to fall way back. Wes Wiggin looks like he might jump up there to assist with Travis Miller in tow, and then Winters still trying to hold on to what he can. Is there 3 wide for the race lead coming to the tri-oval?
Shirk Jr., Brackett, and Fritz 3 wide for the race lead. It's Lancaster and Maurer pushing those couple of leaders in the bottom and middle. Brackett's all alone. Ronnie Shirk Jr. wants to get down to the bottom. He makes it down there just in front of Scott Fritz. 11 laps to go, and these guys are racing like it's 1 to go. It will be in, well, 10 laps time. It is just, I mean, this is a dogfight. Side by side, I think it's actually 8 rows deep, not 9. I think we've got 16, 17 cars in this lead pack, and they're all just grouped up. It's like it's formation laps, parade laps at Talladega. They are formed up like they'd be coming to a restart at 200 miles an hour.
Really tight quarters racing going on here as now Shirk Jr. now taking back the point at the front of the field. Adam Lancaster, who's running the back the entire race, minding his business after a costly mistake on pit road that got him that speeding penalty. Now he finds himself your new race leader. That's 2 points for him as well. Jack Bauer, who is caught up to his lead pack, the only people separating him from Scott Fritz is at 971 of Maurer. So that's a really good sign for the 100, who is still trying to look to catch up with them. If they can, then they're going to be a force to reckon with. Like I said, they led a lot of Daytona, so they know how to work together. They're kind of like what they are in Bluegrass to what Dale Jr. and Tony Stewart were to iRacing. They find each other, don't even need to say a word. They say, if you see that hole and you think you can make it fit, stick it in there, and I will follow you wherever you want to go. And that's exactly the kind of stuff they're going to try and do if they can get around this 971. As that bottom line is starting to form up, here comes Webb peeking into the middle, going to try and use the momentum of himself to get a little side draft to peek up to the race lead. No one's going to come with him. Robertson and Abbey are going to come down with him, as now we have that third line forming. So this is where it gets dangerous. 10 laps to go, and we are 3 wide for the race lead as they come through turns 1 and 2.
Look who've recovered and found themselves in this one. John Kinder and Adam Lancaster back on the lead lap, and they are fighting for this race lead and race win if they can get reformed and get back up there. Tanner Webb takes the lead, drops in front of Ronnie Shirk Jr. with help from Brandon Robertson, who's also back in this one. Travis Miller is in this group. The only points leader we don't have in this massive lead pack is, of course, Justin Winters. Not sure what's happened to him this evening, just fueling issues. He's now 4 laps down, stuck in 19th spot. I'm not sure that's going to change for him, unfortunately. Coming to 8 laps to go, and every lead car is in this one just about. Ronnie Shirk was on the apron for a moment. These guys are going wild.
It takes 2 to tango, and that's what everybody's looking for, is that guy they want to look for. Lancaster is looking for Kinder. Fritz is looking for Bauer. Miller's looking for anybody, and Abbey's looking for the race lead. He doesn't care how, he wants it. As now Wes Wiggin in the 188, who got his lap back, he's going to form up with Lancaster and Kinder up on the top side. Bauer falls out of line to the very
and they're wrecking!
Oh, that's going to be bad news. Who's going to get through that?
That was Ronnie Shirk on the bottom side, hard on the inside wall. That's a big impact. big impact for Ronnie Shirk Jr. And thankfully, you don't have to wonder if he's going to be okay. This is iRacing after all. But oh my gosh, that's a hellacious impact to the driver's side. And I'm going to say thank you again that these are just pixels. We don't have to worry about them, because that would be a scary one if that was real life and these guys had to worry about it in the morning. It was just a stack up in the second lane that turned Robertson down into Webb, and oh my gosh, that's a hit.
And this was before iRacing put the safer barriers in, so that would have been a very violent impact. No, there is a safer barriers in there. It's just that wall is so tall, it just hides it. So yeah, it's a very, very big move there. As you see, just one bad bump to Robertson, just shoots him down, and here we go, and pow, right into the wall, and just pancakes that left side, and then just kind of holding on for dear life, as that's going to destroy that motor, as now it's going to restack the entire field, and now we're going to have about a 4-lap dash for this win here at Talladega, which is going to be even crazier than what it already was before.
And it was nothing those guys did wrong. Miller just got into the back of the pusher. Well, I guess you could say you don't push the pusher ever, and that's what Miller did right there to really cause that. But yeah, it's hard for Miller to see through Joshua Abbey and know that he's on the back end of Brandon Robertson, and the fact that he wasn't quite lined up to the two car as well made it so much worse, because he got him in the right rear quarter panel of his Toyota Camry, and that's what hooked him down to Tanner Webb and Ronnie Shirk Jr. Just really unfortunate circumstances to cause that. Nobody really did anything all that wrong, just they were racing, and it was inside of 10 laps to go, and suddenly you are literally pushing for it and trying to get that race win. You know who we haven't talked to thus far this season, though? It's one of the Team New England drivers in Tanner Webb. I don't think we've talked to this guy at all yet, and he is currently leading here at Talladega with 6 laps to go under caution. Let's go ahead and talk to him, Noah. So Tanner Webb, it's been an interesting season watching you move your way up the field, and I'm not so sure about points right now, but you come in late in the season, and suddenly you and your Team New England teammates are actually doing pretty decently, especially you leading right now with 6 laps to go under caution.
Yeah, this Riverside generating Chevrolet has been really fast all season long. Just had a little bit of a struggle here and there, but usually these guys can really help me out here. Most of all, Talladega is my playground,
It seems like it's everybody's playground this evening, especially with a couple of the incidents that you've seen your way through. How about that most recent one? That was a big one there for Ronnie Shirk. Thankfully, you and some others didn't get taken out.
Yeah, that was really scary for me. I thought for sure that was the end of my race, but luckily I was able to save it, and it didn't feel like that bad of a hit. So I think we're going to be faster on this restart, and hopefully we can get out here and stay out here.
So what is the game plan, especially not knowing how that damage is going to impact you? Because you do have a little bit of right rear damage. We'll spot for you a little bit here. But especially with that unknown and everybody trying to go for the race win, you've got now back-to-back winner John Kinder that's going to be restarting to your outside. What's the game plan trying to keep the race lead on this restart and not look back?
Well, pretty much just wait for my teammate. My teammate said that he's right here close to me, so just praying on that pretty much.
Well, Tanner, you already gave one shout-out to one of your sponsors. Go ahead, I'll give you the floor. Who else do you have to talk to shout out to thank this evening?
I just want to say thank you to Southern Spoon, Riverside Generating, my family.
That's a pretty good list right there. Tanner, thanks for your time. And you've got 5 laps led, going to make it 6 laps led. Maybe you can lead the back 5 right here and make it an even 10. We'll be looking out for that number 17 these last few laps. Go get it done.
Thank you.
That's Tanner Webb, currently your race leader at Talladega Superspeedway. Under caution, albeit, as they come around to 5 laps to go. Noah, it's crunch time. It's go time. It's time to turn up the wick and not look back, especially if your name is John. John Kinder, actually, conveniently up there in second place. He's looking to maybe go 3 in a row. He's got Adam Lancaster up there, but not quite up behind him. Lancaster to his inside and rear, whereas Joshua Abbey will be right behind the number 21 car on this restart. Wes Wigand in 5th place. It's Travis Miller in 6th. And, well, of course, Justin Winter's big issues this evening. Nowhere to be found at the front, but Brandon Robertson lines up in the, let me find him again, Looks like 15th position after catching some damage on that most recent incident. And you can see that number 2 pretty wadded up there in the middle of all of that. It's been a rough day for that number 2 car that has led 9 laps, but it doesn't look like it's going to pan out for him here in the end. He might still be able to get a top 10, a top, I don't know, 8, 7, but I'm just not so sure that he's got a winning machine anymore.
Yeah, well, like you said, it's time to re-rack them and restack them for hopefully one more time here at Talladega. Like we usually hear at the start for most Fox broadcasts, it's time to tighten those belts one more time just to make sure you're all safe and ready to go for the final 4 laps, which should be an absolute thriller. Tanner Webb looking for his first career win here in the Bluegrass iRacing Series. John Kinder looking to make it 3 in a row. He has Lancaster back there in 3rd. If they can get hooked up, this race is almost said and done. Abby, we talked about running with a little bit of a heavy heart. How much would it mean to him to get his first win here at Talladega with Wes Wiegand back in 5th? Travis Miller trying to capitalize on a mistake made by Justin Winters, get his second win of the season and sweep through restrictor plate races or tapered spaces, however you want to put it, as now the pace car gets ready to make that one last dive on the pit road, and we're going to hopefully go green in the end for an amazing Talladega thriller.
It would mean tons to any of these guys to get their first win, especially Joshua Abbey running in the 4th spot coming to this restart. As I mentioned at the top of the show, these guys, of course, at Talladega have the extra length of pavement they have to go until that start-finish line, that restart box, but they near it now, and Tanner Webb is going to get these rear wheels, get the pedal mashed to the floor and light things back up and see if he can hang on to possibly a race win. John Kinder technically gets him at the line, and we'll see how they line up into turns 1 and 2. 4 laps to go at Talladega.
They almost already went 3 wide as they make their way to turns 1 and 2. Here we go. Lancaster and Kinder have found each other. They have been hooked up, and it's go time as Abbey right behind them. Miller right behind those 3, and then Kinder, the 5th car in line, as the bottom line still trying to form up as the 21 and 28 start to run away with this. As here comes Ronnie Shirk Jr., who took that hard hit. He's going to shove Maurer to the bottom, and they're going to wreck on behind.
Big wreck back there. Maurer's involved in more. The caution flag flies. Worthington, Robertson, Fritz, and more in this. Who is that? That is the 2 car of Robertson missing the front end. This is another large incident. Shirk in it. We got Brennan Young. We got Worthington. Big one to force a green-white checkered here at Talladega.
We were hoping this was going to go green to the end, and this is the last thing that Kinder wanted to see because he had everything in his sights to get this done with Lancaster behind him. Now they're going to have to retry it again, this time with his teammate on his insights. Now the question is Lancaster going to try maybe hold off and let him in, or is Kinder going to try maybe give Lancaster his first win of the season? Who knows? But it's going to be now our first green-white checkered. Hopefully our last, as now we're going to head into Bluegrass Racing overtime here tonight at Talladega, which is not too uncommon for these big, wide pack restricted plate racing tracks.
And so it looks like here Nathan Maurer's on the bottom side, and they're all going to stack up a little bit in a few different places. We'll see if we can get a better angle of things. Ronnie Shirk is just going to try and go up the middle, and Scott Fritz, I don't think, realizes they're 3 wide and drives down the racetrack and squeezes them to make contact. Maurer down to the bottom, comes back up, and they all start wrecking behind, and oh my gosh, that's really tough for some of those guys. Maurer actually gets through relatively okay, just contact to the side of his car, but some big hits behind him.
Yeah, some very violent hits. I saw that out of the corner of my eye. It's just, yeah, he probably didn't really realize he was there. He just comes down there, is a lot closer than when he realizes, and then just gives it one bad shot. He was almost saved by the 921 of Maurer, but he couldn't save it because of the spinning 100 car of Scott Fritz. That he just comes back up into Worthington, who bounces back up again into Robertson, and then it's just as along for the ride as he's trying to get that car settled down, but that is virtually going to take him out of contention possibly from this win. Jack Bauer also had a very violent ride after getting involved in the tail end of that, as it's just another kind of a mini big one, but still very violent hits for a lot of these drivers.
And there you see where Fritz just went down on the number 7 car, and I think just didn't realize they were 3 wide, and oh yeah, that is a big hit for Jack Bauer. Gets the side of the number 7 car of Ronnie Shirk, and then tries to get back going here, and Worthington with another big hit as well, and this is going to thin the herd, and this will help a guy like Justin Winters, who needs to pass some of these guys now that they're wrecked, and this might help him get some extra points and kind of kind of soften the blow. It'll help guys that were trying to get back on the lead lap, possibly. Just trying to pass some of these direct race cars now. It looks like Brandon Robertson may be done for the evening, and this just might write him out of the championship. Remember, he has no drop weeks. He missed a couple of races. Those will be his drops. Brian Terry, though, it looks like getting back on the lead lap, so it's a chance for him to try and recover if there's any last lap contact or something like that, see if he can get by some drivers. David Brackett, of course, still in the pit lane. He's been there for, I'm not really sure how long, but a long time for sure. He's 8 laps down. Ed Osborne, 10 laps down. He's re-entered the race. He is in the 21st position, dead last. David Brackett is 20th, only 1 spot up from last. Justin Winters is still out there, albeit 4 laps down, and at this point, there's no way that he can win, I don't think, but he can at least try and get some spots back if these guys continue wrecking. Chris LeBourgeois ahead of him in 18th position, 2 laps down, and then you find Jack Bauer, Brandon Robertson in the pit lane. I think they've both gone 1 lap down at this point. Brian Terry on the lead lap in 15th position. Daniel Worthington got caught up in that wreck. He's in 14th. Scott Fritz in 13th. Nathan Maurer in 12th. Ronnie Shirk Jr. in 11th, and then you have the top 5. We've got Kinder leading, Lancaster second, then it's Webb, Abbey, Wiggand, your top 5, Miller, Brackett, Noggle, Grenier, and Young, the rest of that top 10. This is going to be an interesting run to the checkered flag, and it may not be the final green-white checkered either.
Absolutely not. This is just how it works. You don't know when it's going to be the end, because now that we are officially in the overtime zone with 2 laps to go, a lot of these drivers are going to get a lot more aggressive trying to make these moves, and it's just going to cause more wrecks. It's like the saying goes, caution breeds cautions, and that's exactly the kind of scenario that we see here at Talladega week after week after week, no matter what series you're running. And so far it's been a pretty clean race. It's just like I talked about at the top of the show, they'll keep it green for the first 75% of the race, but once that last 25% starts is when everything breaks loose and you see all these wrecks. And it's still an entertaining race for a lot of these drivers. They put on a really good show here in the last few laps, but it's not the way you want to see with a bunch of cars on the back of a wrecker heading towards the garage to wrap their day up. You talk about Robertson still on pit road, virtually writing him out of the championship. That will be the final blow. He's actually back on the racetrack, but with a 16th place finish, that's basically going to write him out of any hope for the championship in these last 3 races.
So there is the field that is remaining, and they are it looks like 16, 17 strong or so, as they want to get back going. And some of these guys out of it for the win, but still trying to get some last-second points, especially if they wad them up one more time on this coming restart and give those guys a chance to make up some more spots. John Kinder, Adam Lancaster, the teammates are your front row. Tanner Webb in 3rd place. We talked to him last caution. He was the leader last time around. Joshua Abbey in 4th place. He was kind of slow to get going last restart, but should be okay once they get up to speed. You see the 188 Wes Wiggand. He has come back after really being back there through that early green flag run, and I mean, where was he at all, really? But that Dale Earnhardt throwback is up into the top 5, has a shot at going for this race win. What a story if the 188 wins here at Talladega. Travis Miller up there. Nicholas Noggle is back into this as well. Wyatt Brackett, Matt Grenier, Brandon Young, the rest of your top 10. We're coming to the 2nd overtime restart, a green, white, checkered. You get the green flag, come back around for the white flag, and then you finish it out if they get that far. We'll see if they do. 2 laps to go to settle this one at Talladega.
John Kinder gets a start. Webb not winning a second. He's already on his back bumper as they're going to head off into turn number 1. Abbey going to jump down to the bottom side. Miller going to jump into the top side as they make their way through turns 1 and 2 for the second to last time. Kinder now with a full race lead. Lancaster left on his own as now they're going to go single file throughout most of the top 5. They expect maybe drivers like Abbey to possibly make a move to the top side, but he can't, as now that is Lancaster to his outside as they are still single file down the back straightaway as they head through 3 and 4 as they approach the white flag.
You see the whole field rather spread out right now. Lancaster side drafts to the outside of Webb and Kinder. Webb looks to the inside. He turns John Kinder.
All right, man, caution.
Oh, Travis Miller.
Scott Fritz involved, Matt Grenier involved, Kinder, not that bad of damage compared to how hard of a hit he took. LaBourgeois gets through there, luckily, as it looks like this. We will get maybe one more green-white checkered here as they do extend the race to 98 laps. As now Adam Lancaster and Joshua Abbey 1-2. Wes Wiggin going to take over the third spot. Tanner Webb, who made contact with him, is going to line up in fourth, and Nicholas Noggle takes over the fifth spot as we are back under caution here at Talladega after a wild record turns 3 and 4.
Yet another big accident, and it all starts when John Kinder just leaves that door open. Tanner Webb sticks his nose down there. You can't blame him. You're coming to the white flag, and John Kinder just turns back across his nose, unfortunately. I mean, that's just how it ends up happening here. I mean, Tanner Webb is looking for a chance to get there, and he doesn't move off that yellow line. John Kinder does a little bit, and that's just how that all starts. Miller, Fritz, Grenier, all involved as a result, and whew, that's a big one in turn 4.
And honestly, I say take an onboard look at the 51 of Brandon Young, because he came really close to getting hit a couple times by a few of these drivers, and he was able to wedge his way through this. Look at this. Coming through turns 3, he sees right behind Scott Fritz involved in the accident. You see at the very front of the field, that's where John Kinder is. You see, there he is right there. He gets hooked. He's going to jump all the way down to the apron to avoid the field. Watch this. Oh my goodness, he's going to wedge right through the needle.
That's he just worked a wonder. How about that? In the 51 car, and
Puns.
I mean, I have to. But at least his car isn't toast after that one, because
Oh my god.
but no, I mean, seriously, thankfully his car isn't toast, because I think he's already been involved in one of these things, so he could have been written out of this if he had gotten involved in this. We'll watch from the TV cameras through 3 and 4 as it all happens up ahead, and he barely sneaks on through, and he had to ride the butter, that yellow line, through the corners, but he gets through in the end, and somehow, I'm not really sure how he missed all of that, but he does, thankfully, in the number 51 car. Adam Lancaster, your race leader as a result. Look at Tanner Webb on the outside. He'll be restarting second place. Joshua Abbey graduates 1 position. He's now in third. Nicholas Noggle in fourth. And it is Wes Wiggin in fifth. Wyatt Bracken 6th. Brandon Young in 7th place after missing that one. Nathan Maurer also misses it. He's 8th. But John Kinder, after getting some damage in that one, I don't think he takes a fast repair. No, he does not. So he will restart 9th place. And Daniel Worthington to his outside. And, man, late race yellows, cautions breed cautions.
Absolutely, and this is going to be the final green-white checker from the looks of it. Now 99 laps officially, so we're over that halfway of what the race usually is. Lancaster now, currently your race leader, and this is something to think about. No matter what happens with this whole basically top 10, whoever wins is going to be a first-time winner this season, because Robertson was taken out, Winters is taken out, Miller has been taken out, and Kinder's been taken out. And then the 6 of Tyler Johnson didn't show up. So that's all the people who have won this season. So we're going to have a new race winner here tonight at Talladega.
More than likely. Let's talk to one of those possible first race winners. We've talked about him a lot this evening. The storylines coming into this race. Joshua Abbey, somehow, through all that you guys have been through, you and your teammates, Wes Wiggin and Daniel Worthington, you line up third on this restart, and as we were told pre-race, you're driving for a little more than just to win here at Talladega Superspeedway.
Yeah, earlier today, my wife, we lost her great uncle. It was really close to the family, so we're driving a little heavy-hearted, a little more oomph to get a win tonight. Teammates have been great. We've been working with Travis Miller as well. We're going to see how this thing shakes out and see if one of us can grab this W at the end of the day.
As we said earlier this evening, we send out our condolences, our thoughts and prayers to you and the family. I mean, it's always tough to go through, especially going into a big race like this here on iRacing. It's tough, especially when everything's in the back of your mind, but let's just focus on this restart. You got 2 laps to go. You're lining up third place. You got nose, you got rear damage. What's your game plan to try and beat everybody around you? There's Adam Lancaster, Tanner Webb, Nicholas Noggle, and more.
Just send it, honestly. I mean, it's last green-white checkered, so we got to go. We see some lanes, we're going to take it. Like I said, hopefully one of my teammates here, we can push one of ourselves to the win, or and take on the checkered flag, man.
Well, Josh, since I do believe it's the first time we talked to you all season long, go ahead and tell us about who supports that number 05, the rest of your teammates, who makes it happen for you, who do you have to shout out as we get ready to go back Green Flag Racing?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I got Primetime Sports Talk. They've been my main sponsor. They've funded me since the get-go. Quest Tech Precision, 41 Shocks, Earl, Baxter, Charlie Milner with Milner Media and Design. He puts killer wraps on all of our cars, and especially my teammates, Dirt Track Junkies, Wes and Dan. Couldn't be here in this position without them, honestly.
And you got one of them right behind you for this restart in 5th spot. Best of luck to you, Joshua. Hopefully we're talking to you post-race.
Absolutely, 10-4.
That's Joshua Abbey in the 3rd spot. He started 10th this evening. He's got a 1-lap lead, and he just might make it 2, maybe even 3 if he can jump up there and lead this one to the end. Noah, what it would be for him if he ends up winning this evening, I mean, that's always big. I've been in that situation before as a driver. That kind of thing weighing on your mind is difficult, especially when you get into a high-pressure situation like this, but I think he can get through it, and he's got a really good teammate behind him and a lot of good race car drivers around him that should give us a pretty darn good finish to the end. We're coming to the second, I believe, of 2 green-white checkers this evening. Bluegrass iRacing overtime at Talladega Superspeedway. It's a green, it's a white, and it's a checkered flag on the way. Adam Lancaster gets it fired off when racing once again at Talladega.
He's going to get hung out like a sitting duck as here comes Webb and Abby going to try and maybe make a move. Abby's going to fall in line behind him and push him as now Tanner Webb might assume the race lead as he makes way through turns 1 and 2. Still pretty single filed out except for that top 2 cars as now Brackett in the 33 going to fall in line with the 188 as now Lancaster has a full 2 car length lead to any competition behind him on the outside line. Now the big question is that here comes Brandon Young with a full head of steam, going to try and make something happen down the inside line as he makes way through turn number 3 as they get ready to approach the white flag for one more lap around Talladega Superspeedway.
Lancaster still leads. He's got Abbey behind him. Wiggins. Oh, will he maybe get turned? Brandon Young fought to the inside, slips back in behind him. Now, coming through the tri-oval, the white flag is being displayed by Barney, our iRacing flagman. They get turned to the line. Will they actually keep racing? I think we will consider that one official. Noggle Rex behind. I think Maurer with them, but we've still got a single file race out of turn number 2.
Joshua Abbey down the back straightaway. He's going to make a peek to the inside. No one's going to make a move with him. They're going to still fall in line. No wreck, so he gets another chance at it again. Will Wiggin make the move, or will he go for the second spot and play it safe? To the outside they go. He's going to follow. Brandon Young's going to stay on the inside. Through turns 3 and 4, we have a 2-car tango for the win here as he comes through 3 and 4 for the final time.
Young pushing Lancaster, Wiggin pushing Abbey on the top side. That top side gets good runs, but the 05 has damage. Out of turn number 4, Daniel Worthington going to try and aid his teammate. Lancaster tries to block. A drag race to the stripe. Adam Lancaster wins at Talladega. Joshua Abbey second place. Brandon Young recovers to 3rd. It's Worthington 4th, Wiggin 5th. What a finish at Talladega Superspeedway. Earnhardt Country in the 28 wins.
A very close call for the 05, who almost had everything going his way if he didn't make that one mistake. But how about Brandon Young with a full head of steam, brings it all home for a 3rd place finish after getting turned in front of the entire field to bring out that first big one.
I got to catch my breath after that one as the Ghostface Brewing and Rims 1 Ford Mustang wins yet again, this time with a different driver as it's the 28, not the 21. So that's got to be pretty cool for John Kinder to see his teammate get a big win this evening at Talladega. We're going to be talking to 3 drivers that if we hadn't just talked to Joshua Abbey, we wouldn't have talked to at all yet this season. It's always good to get to talk to new guys, and Adam Lancaster getting that new win here at Talladega. That is so big for their team as well, so they can both say they've got a win out of race number 9 of 12 and going into the final quarter of the inaugural Bluegrass iRacing series. That's big for these guys, that John Kinder and Adam Lancaster are now both race winners, and Adam Lancaster isn't a fluke either, because he has been more and more competitive as the season has gone on. I think back to Bristol and Pocono, where he's been most competitive and has shown a lot of speed in that 28 car. Very deserving to finally get a race win this season, and he is going to burn it down at Talladega.
You're gonna enjoy every moment of this win, as with the same number as the Allisons, who made it famous here, the part of the Alabama gang. They see strength across the back straightaway in real life, as he's gonna burn it down across the front straightaway, and he's gonna destroy those Goodyear tires and make sure he uses up every second, because you never know just how many of these wins you get here this season. And so a win at Talladega that is just feels incredible, and it looks like nope, he's not gonna burn the engine. He's gonna keep going.
Again, a big celebration for him, and it's well-deserved after that. Just incredible stuff for Adam Lancaster, and a classic finish as well. That was good stuff, racing to the end. We'll be right back to you here at PitStop TV. Don't go anywhere. We have post-race on the way. We'll be talking to these drivers and getting their thoughts after a very exciting 94-lap showdown here at Talladega. It was an all-out brawl there at the end between everybody up at the front, and that made it super exciting. Adam Lancaster wins. We'll be talking to the rest of the top three as well here on just the other side of this quick commercial break.
Sound art is a product that is a speaker and it's art. We combine it together and we call it sound art. What makes it so unique that any picture can be your speaker? Sound art gives you the high quality sound without the ugly speaker. This isn't a picture with a speaker, the picture is the speaker. Just imagine your wedding picture uploaded onto a canvas, and now it's speaking 10,000 tunes. I mean, it's a very cool concept. What we like so much about it that you can take anything that means something very special to you, upload it on the canvas, have it hanging up in your room, your balcony, wherever you want to put it, and now it's a speaker. I mean, how cool is that? It's something that we have that and no one has. No one has this product. It's just a great gift to give anybody. It's just a neat concept. Around here we say, art never sounded so good.
Welcome back, race fans, to PitStop TV. We just saw an amazing, well, it was originally going to be 94 laps. It was actually exactly 100 laps. It looks like, just like Daytona International Speedway to open up the season, Talladega Superspeedway excites and goes into overtime. What a finish we just saw. I've now got Trey Shuttlesworth joining me for the post-race portion of this evening's coverage. Adam Lancaster gets it done, and we're just going to get right to talking to him. And Adam Lancaster, I mean, what a big win for you and teammate John Kinder. Now, both have a race win, him with 2, you with 1, and it's not even a fluke here at Dega where anybody can win. It's been well-deserved, I think. I think of Pocono and Bristol as where you've been very strong on, as Kyle Busch would say, a real racetrack. You get it done here at Dega in a thrilling 2-lap fight to the end.
Yeah, I thought we had a shot with John there before the last caution that came out, and he got took out, so we were kind of on our own there at the end. I was content to push John there when he was up front. But with him out of it, I kind of was trying to mirror drive and see what we could do to block or whatnot. But I tell you what, it's just it's been really. We've had some really good runs over the past month probably, and just I've made a lot of mistakes and speeding on pit road or what have you. At Bristol, I missed a shift on the last restart there and kind of let Justin get in front of me and wasn't able to get up there and tangle up with John a little bit for the win. But I'm just super excited to have a clean race and have a whole race get put together and be able to get the win tonight.
Absolutely. I mean, this is a big one. This was a big race. This is one that was certainly going to affect the championship, and your teammate John Kinder there in his fight to get up there and battle Travis Miller and Justin Winters. What was the game plan for you two? Obviously, you guys were working together just like most of the rest of the season, and then actually you get caught up on one of those pit attempts, one of those green flag pit stops, and big issues for you separate you two.
Yeah, and that's kind of the tail of the tape for me. Pocono, we had a good game plan together with John and myself, and I kind of messed that up with a pit road mishap, and had to come up on a lap car or coming up on a car on an entry to pit road, and I just overdrove the entry to pit road and got caught speeding, and that got John and I split up again, but luckily with the cautions and the way everything cycled out, we all got back on the lead lap and were able to get together at the end. To be honest with you, our game plan from the start was to just stay back at the back and ride and save our fast repair and try to keep our cars as clean as possible and just kind of keep the lead pack in sight and let the carnage kind of unravel in front of us and have something to race with at the end. And like I said, it didn't play out exactly how we planned it, but for myself at least, it all worked out.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great strategy you guys had at first to just keep yourselves separated, but you were still close to that front group until things went awry. And in those last few restarts, though, especially trying to keep in mind that you're, obviously want to help John at this point in the season, try to keep him in the running. But at some point, it comes down to you and trying to win this race, and that's exactly what happens. What was the overall game plan? What was going through your mind, your voice chat, whatever? What was the deal there coming to those last few restarts?
Well, I'll be honest with you. Some of these other guys that we're racing against have spotters and crew chiefs and different crew chief apps and different things like that. And John and myself, we're just kind of winging it. We have a conversation before the race and we know how to communicate a little bit within the race. But some of the tools that the other guys are using, we haven't really taken advantage of. But it's just like I said, the way that things worked out tonight for us. If to be honest with you, I kind of wanted John to take the outside on the last restart that he was up there, and I would have just let him in line and pushed him because I missed the first two races, and so I'm not really in contention for the points. So I'm content to help John in any way that I can. But you're right, there at the end, the way things were playing out when Tanner was behind John, there was no team orders, no teammates or anything like that. We were trying to get on the outside of him and try to get up front and win the race.
Well, you say you're not really in the points battle, but you come into this evening in 8th position with the 2 drop weeks figured in. 69 points back of Travis Miller, where that puts you 61 back of your teammate John Kinder. So, I mean, you're a little ways out of necessarily winning the championship, but a top 5, even a top 4, maybe even a top 3 if things go your way, not out of the order at all. You can still get up there and race for a decent point standing. In fact, let's put the points up on the screen just to show everybody coming into this race. I mean, you're right there forward. You might still have a shot these last few races, especially with the Roval and Kentucky is still being double points.
Well, I can tell you, we haven't. I'm not giving up on it by any means. We're going to fight hard every week and try to do all we can. The finishes have been steadily improving every week, and obviously this week we were fortunate enough to get the win. But we're not going to lay over. That's for sure. But we'll just run hard and see how it all lands in the end.
We'll have to wait and see how that works out for you then. It was a really, really good run, obviously, capping off a 16th starting spot with a win and 8 laps led at Talladega. Who do you have to shout out? Who do you have to thank this evening for your big win at Dega?
Well, obviously want to thank Ghostface Brewery for everything they do, and rims1.com for everything they do, not only for myself and John, but for the series. And thank Jason and everybody with the Bluegrass iRacing series, and you guys with PitStop TV. You guys do a great job for us week in and week out. And obviously we wouldn't be able to put on the show that we do without all you guys. So I really want to thank John Kinder. He's a super selfless competitor. He races everybody hard, but he's the first one to help any of us out, if we have questions or anything like that. So, John's done a ton for me to get me up to speed, and I would be lying if I didn't say that my progression up and my finishes and my improvements during the season this year have a lot to do with John's guidance and his help. So big shout out to him, and like I said, just super excited to be a part of this series, and glad that that everybody's putting it on, and we have a great time racing with y'all.
Plenty of people to thank, rather. I like that. And speaking of Ghostface, you just might be within contention there for the hard charge this evening. The guy who needs a beer, especially after that win. You go from 16th to 1st. We'll have to wait for the official result as to who gained the most positions from qualifying. Regardless, again, congratulations, Adam, and hopefully we're talking to you more the rest of the season.
All right, I look forward to it. Thanks, guys.
And that's Adam Lancaster winning this evening at Talladega. Now I'll turn it over to Trey Shuttlesworth, who has joined me up in the booth as Noah Carmichael had obligations to tend to. Trey, it was a wild one, but in the end, just after we talked to Joshua Abbey, he ends up coming home in the 2nd position. Go ahead and talk to him.
Joshua Abbey, do we have you?
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, first of all, thanks for joining us tonight. It was a pretty long one tonight. Very entertaining throughout. Just to start off, walk us through that final green-white checker. It seemed you were right in contention, but come up 54 thousandths of a second short.
Oh, you just had to remind me, didn't you? No. Honestly, it was kind of touch and go of just patience when to make a move. I wanted to go a little bit early, and communication with Wes, teammate. He's like, no, let's wait a little bit, and I don't even know what would have happened, honestly, if we went early enough. I seen 51. He had a big jump, and he was hauling. And then Dan, our other teammate, he was coming out of nowhere, shot out a cannon, and kind of just hold her steady, get some push, and then hope for the best. And just like I said, came up just a tad shy, but it was fun.
Yep, definitely a lot of fun to watch up here as well. Just in general, in the Bluegrass iRacing series, a big thing that has to be taken into account is the 50% fuel load. How did you incorporate that into your long-term strategy? Because I know we did go about, I want to say 50 or 60 laps before our first yellow.
It was more along the lines of we had a strategy where we were going to hang back, and then we kind of lost the draft to Tad, so we had to figure out strategy-wise, tires, no tires. We decided we didn't take tires a couple times. I know one time me and Travis accidentally took tires, so we were kind of catching up, and then we would catch a groove. And the thing about the 50% is when you catch a groove, we started catching a pack, then we got to pit again. So you kind of short pit, and that kind of helped catch a little gain, and then kind of hope for a caution on that point. But the fuel, it definitely plays a factor because it's a matter of when to take that stop and which lap and what everybody else is doing. So it's interesting. 50% fuel is definitely interesting, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah, definitely for sure. So just curious, we see you coming across the line here, and the car's pretty battered. When did you have to utilize that one fast repair tonight?
Well, yeah, I was honestly, I was looking at the broadcast right here, and my car looks like it's been at Bristol or Martinsville, honestly. And I kind of felt in those last couple laps the aerodynamics of it and how much I was pushing it. But actually, I used my fast repair probably early in the race. The 08, I think, turned the 51, and I just happened to be right there, and nothing I could do. He came right down on me, and I had to use it up there. And then we had that little other incident where the 51 came up on the track, so we kind of shot up high, and then as we're trying to go down, I we just misjudged it. Got sent down to the grass and try to come up the track, not destroy the car or anybody else. And I hit the wall a little bit, but luckily my optimum repairs were like 30 seconds, I believe. So I knew there was going to be damage. It was just a matter of how it was going to affect the car. As long as I was not underpower or anything, I knew I had a chance to do something. So.
Hey, that's fair enough. So, we look past Talladega and we're already, at the back end of this really short season here, only 12 races. Are there any events in particular that you're looking forward to? And can we see you running the full program the next 3 races?
Oh, absolutely. We'll be there. Me and Dan and Wes, we've been running this whole series the whole time and trying to get competitive and better and better. And we had Talladega circled. We love plate racing. But I know we got Martinsville coming up, which is very tricky. The Roval, which I'm actually looking forward to, putting in some work there. And I know we got a very long race at Kentucky. And mile and halves it's about strategy. And we like to strategize and see what we can do, honestly, and try to make some kind of gains. I think Travis is probably going to run away with this championship, but try to make up some gains for, second, third, fourth, fifth, something like that.
Oh, no, definitely a lot to play for, especially with that race at Kentucky, especially, 400 miles. It's going to be a massive step up. Just one more curiosity question. As we're talking a little bit about, preparation, how much can we see you and your teammates put in terms of practice time prior to an event each week?
We try to hit the tracks that we come up to on Wednesday at least once or twice. I know the guys at Bluegrass, they'll put up practice sessions and stuff, and we'll try to make them if we don't have prior arrangements. But we'll definitely put a little DTJ practice session together and do the 50% fuel and try to guess at what Jason might put up for the actual race and put in our time that way and just get better.
All right. I think that's all we have for you tonight, Joshua. Anyone you want to thank out there tonight?
Oh, absolutely. Primetime Sports Talk. When I started in March, it's a fantasy sports website that I write for, fantasy football and all sorts of other sports around the world, obviously. They said, hey, we want to get into iRacing. You want to do it? I was like, absolutely. I was the first one on the list, NASCAR fan myself. And then Quest Tech Precision is another sponsor that's really helped me along the way. One of our riders, his dad works for him. 41 Shocks with Earl Baxter. If you need real life shocks for your race car, he's the guy to go to. And Charlie Milner Media Design, man, he puts our killer wraps together for all of our cars at DTJ. And then also, like I said, I can't thank my guys at DTJ enough. Wes and Dan, we put in the work, we put in the fun, and they pushed me a lot, and I pushed them. And like I said, it's really where I couldn't be here in this position, honestly, if it wasn't for Wes. He got me into this whole thing, so I really got to give him a huge shout out. And then most importantly, I got to give a shout out to the wife. Happy wife, happy life. So she lets me do this, allows me to do this, and I got to give her a quick shout. So,
hey, we appreciate it as well. Put on a great show tonight, and we definitely want to make sure that thoughts are with your family right now.
I appreciate that. I really do. I know it's going to be really cool to look back and to hear y'all do that. Kind of cool I get to talk to y'all for the first time all season. Wish I could do it more often. Hope to do it more often, but y'all put on a great broadcast. Jason puts on a great league, so I look forward to every day I go to work and I watch y'all's broadcast over again. Y'all do a great job, and I appreciate that, and I appreciate the condolences. Thank y'all.
Of course, a pleasure to have you aboard, as always, every week, Joshua.
Yes, sir. Thank y'all.
That was Joshua Abbey. He's going to finish second place tonight here at Talladega Superspeedway.
And finishing just behind him, take the 5 from Joshua's car number, add a 1 on the back end of it, and you get Brandon Young, who's working with Justin Winters all evening long. And Brandon, at several points, it seemed like you guys had something going right, and then things happened to Justin, and suddenly you're kind of out there fighting for your own. And that I Want to Go Fast, Wonder Bread, Chevrolet Camaro, it was almost toast a couple of times, but thankfully you slip on through, and you make it to the end, finishing in the top 3.
There was a couple wrecks there that I barely squeezed by. I don't know how I did it, but I did. But Justin, apparently there was some kind of glitch or something. He would check his gas, and when he would pit, he wouldn't get gas. So that kind of screwed him up, and he went multiple laps down. But we still tried to stay close with each other, and we got lost on the end there, and I managed to pull out a top 3 on my own.
Now, obviously, you're trying to help Justin Winters at this point keep in that championship fight. But at the same time, you're fighting somebody like Travis Miller, who also has a pretty bad night in when it's all said and done. Finishes 7th place, not the kind of night that he wanted to have. He still is in the top 10 as opposed to Justin at 19th, but you also have the drop weeks to think about. And while I guess from a teammate standpoint, while you can't help him when the game is working against you, you at least still then get to utilize him, I guess, as a spotter. And I know he's got Huffy up on the spotter stand as well, helping him out.
Oh, yeah. Like, I haven't been on here in probably at least 3 or 4 weeks. I've been busy, but I had time tonight, and this is a restrictor plate race. You need help, and I figured I'd hop on to help him out, and didn't go his way.
So, Brandon, you say sometimes you're busy. What are your plans these next 3 weeks as we have a quarter of the season to go at the Roval Martinsville in Kentucky?
I'll probably make next week's for sure. I don't know about Martinsville, and I don't know about Kentucky yet. That's still up in the air, but I know I will be here next week also.
Well, Brandon, before we let you go, of course, want to see if you have any parting words, who you want to thank, and who you want to give a shout-out to this evening.
Just Bluegrass iRacing League. It's a fun league. It just started, and there's a bunch of great guys in it. And then my teammate Justin, it sucked for him tonight, but he's still in the championship hunt somewhat, and maybe can pull it out.
Brandon, of course, thank you for your time. You start 15th rather, get up to 3rd at the end, but you light a couple of laps as well. Overall, a pretty good night despite what happened with Justin. Congratulations on the top 3. Hopefully, we're talking to you again this season.
Yeah, man. Thanks.
And that's Brandon Young working with Justin Winters through much of the evening, although those efforts end up being bottled up in just bad timing and bad mistakes on the Sims part, not even on Winters or his team, and it just does not go right for him and that 88 crew. But man, it was still certainly a night here, Trey, and a lot of good racing.
I think the wonderful thing about, getting to work with PitStop TV is that we get consistently good shows all the time, and Bluegrass iRacing Series is definitely, week in, week out, an absolutely entertaining show, and I'm, glad we get to share it with everyone out there. A lot of fun here to play track tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we could cover races all week long, but sometimes, man, we get tuckered out, and at that point, we want to save the ones that are good. Quality rather over quantity, and there are some great leagues that we have the pleasure of covering. We have great racing, I think, consistently, be it Sunday night now with the Scar Cup Series, Superior Class Auto Racing Cup Series. We have the Northwest GT3 Challenge on Mondays. They had a great race at Brands Hatch this week. Last night with the Operation E Motorsport iRacing League Indianapolis was amazing, and tonight this was a classic in terms of Talladega races here for the channel. I'm very glad that we get the chance to cover these kinds of races. Speaking of covering these kinds of races, we covered a battle throughout the entire field all night long that ends with Adam Lancaster on top, finishing first, Joshua Abbey in second place. We talked to both of them, as well as third place finisher Brandon Young when it was all said and done. Fourth place is where you see Daniel Worthington, just a 10th and a quarter back of Adam Lancaster in that epic last lap battle all the way through the tri-oval. Tanner Webb had a shot in the closing laps, couldn't get it done, finishes 6th position, along with Travis Miller, who comes into tonight the points leader. We're being told unofficially he and Justin Winters are going to be tied after Talladega this evening, which is very interesting that they enter 1 point and leave, 1 point apart rather, and leave tied up. We'll have to wait for official word on that. Wyatt Brackett, 8th place. John Kinder ends up 9th, not the night that he wanted to have, but still a top 10, nothing to scoff at really, and we'll see how he can recover in the closing weeks. Jack Bauer rounds out the top 10 in 10th position.
We leave the top 10, and that brings us to the back end of the field tonight. Starting in, with 11th place, Ronnie Shirk Jr., and he'll be followed by Brandon Robertson, who's going to leave 12th place, probably disappointed after a lot of strong running, and same for Scott Fritz, who finishes 13th tonight. Brian Terry will finish 14th, about 11 seconds back out of the leader. And then the last car on the lead lap tonight will be Nicholas Noggle, who did start on pole earlier and, just come to, very simply, Talladega. First car 1 lap down in the 16th position will be Nathan Rower, and he'll be followed by Chris Bourgeois. I'll get it eventually. We have 3 more weeks here. He's going to be followed by Matt Grenier, 2 laps down for him. And then in the 19th position will be championship contender Justin Winters. He finishes 4 laps down. 20th position will be Ed Osborne. He finishes 10 laps down tonight.
And David Brackett, the last car that started this evening, ends up dead last. Fighting power outages all day up there in the great state of Maine, finishes 17 laps down. Really do hate to see it for those Team New England guys who had to fight through those power outages this afternoon and were just barely able to race. Thankfully, they did make it out this evening. Before we cap things off, of course, we want to thank all of our partners here at PitStop TV, Tucson Sound Art. Go to TucsonSoundArt.com and use code PitStop TV for 10% off your order today when you make your order with Tucson Sound Art. Basically, easiest way to explain this is you take a favorite moment from your life. For me, it was winning with David Levine Racing at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Trey, you were there for that. And I put that on a canvas. Well, Tucson Sound Art did it for me. Put that on a canvas. That's now on my wall. I look up at it every day. I play music on it all the time. It is a great asset. It's a great decoration for my bedroom wall, and they can go, I think, as small as you want and as big as you want. There's just tons of customizability, of course, as far as what image you put up there, the size you get, all of that. And again, you get 10% off your order when you use code PitStopTV at checkout, so why wouldn't you order one today? We also want to thank, of course, Permanent Makeup and Cryo in Maine, one of our longtime partners now, most of this 2020 season. Quite simply, if you're in the market for permanent makeup procedures, hit them up on Facebook, Permanent Makeup and Cryo in Maine, or go to permanentmakeupinmaine.com, or you can even call or text them at 207-358-8683 for more information and info on how you can get your consultation today. They're great people over there, Ashley and Evan Boyer, and if you are in that kind of market, especially these Team New England guys, if that's your kind of thing, definitely hit those guys up. Permanent Makeup and Cryo in Maine, they have a few different locations, most notably, I believe, in Lewiston, Maine, in the Lewiston, Auburn area. Regardless, hit them up again, 207-358-8683, their phone number. The website, permanentmakeupinmaine.com, and the Facebook page, Permanent Makeup and Cryo in Maine. We also want to thank, of course, the BRP iRacing Series 360 Wing Sprint Car League that will now be running on the Monday nights, as we will be covering them in their next season this fall and winter. So PitStop TV getting into some dirt racing, and that's going to be a lot of fun with those guys. We also want to thank Whiplash Media, our new parent company, our new parent organization that specializes in various sim racing resources, be it paint schemes, camera packs especially, stream overlays, all kinds of stuff. Come to us, we'll get you worked out. We also are getting into real racing stuff, photography, social media, public relations, and more. Whiplash Media on Facebook or whiplash-media.com for more information. But that will do it, Trey, and I thank you for coming in the booth here at the end. I want to thank, of course, Noah Carmichael for being in the booth through the entire race. But that does conclude our coverage of the Bluegrass iRacing Series. And we at PitStop TV, thank you for tuning in and joining us for tonight's action, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. Be sure to join us again Sunday for the Superior Class Auto Racing Cup Series at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Again on Monday for the Northwest GT3 Challenge at Okayama Circuit in Japan. And next Tuesday at Charlotte Motor Speedway for the Operation E Motorsport iRacing League, before we do it all again at the Charlotte Roval with the Bluegrass iRacing Cup Series. In fact, that's also leading into the NASCAR Cup Series at Charlotte, so it's all very convenient, as well as the NASCAR Xfinity Series and IMSA WeatherTech Challenge. That's an incredible week for Charlotte Motor Speedway Roval Racing. Make sure to follow us on Facebook at www.facebook.com/PitStopTV, on Twitter at PitStopTV_, on Twitch at www.twitch.tv/Pit_Stop_TV, and on YouTube at www.youtube.com/C/PitStopTV1. For all of us at PitStop TV, Noah Carmichael on the mic, Trey Shuttlesworth with social media coverage, I am Andrew Cardinale IV for PitStop TV, and we will see you next time.
Sound art is a product that is a speaker and it's art. We combine it together and we call it sound art. What makes it so unique that any picture can be your speaker? Sound art gives you the high quality sound without the ugly speaker. This isn't a picture with a speaker, the picture is the speaker. Just imagine your wedding picture uploaded onto a canvas and now it's speaking 10,000 tunes. I mean, it's a very cool concept. What we like so much about it that you can take anything that means something very special to you, upload it on the canvas, have it hanging up in your room, your balcony, wherever you want to put it, and now it's a speaker. I mean, how cool is that? It's something that we have that and no one has. No one has this product. It's just a great gift to give anybody. It's just a neat concept. Around here we say, art never sounded so good.